In this world, as long as you are 16 years old, you can use the Qishir stone to summon the gods in history and receive their power. But if you mispronounce the names of those gods, your fate will only lead to death. Most notably, no one in Huaxia is very knowledgeable about history, so most awakened people choose the gods in books to fight. Therefore, they have lost many times and are often oppressed. Until Liu Changshing transmigrated from the 21st century and helped them dominate the world. Let's follow his journey to become the master of a region. The story begins with the image of a young man hearing someone constantly calling his name, Changshing. He woke up suddenly, opened his eyes, and looked around blankly, wondering where he was. In his previous life, he was a third-year student majoring in archaeology, so his knowledge of the gods was top-notch. Now he has become a transmigrator. He is sitting in the stands at the mythology arena, which is very crowded. The young man calling him is Zhou Hao, Liu Changxing's childhood best friend. He came over and said to him, "Don't stand there blankly, hurry up and line up. Today is the once-in-a-decade Qishir day." Changshing looked at him blankly, not understanding anything. 100 years ago, the mythology arena appeared on the continent, creating an unprecedented shock. The gods of various countries revived, possessing great power. As long as a person is 16 years old, they can use the Qishir stone to summon a god. Those who successfully summon a god will receive the god's power, representing the country in battles at the mythology arena. Once the name is mispronounced, the fate of the failed is only one. Someone mispronounced the name of a god as Erlangshan, the local deity, angering the god, who punished him. That is death and turning into ashes. As far as he knows, Huaxia civilization has been interrupted, and many historical and mythological records have been buried in the dust. Countless Huaxia ancestors used blood and bones to build, exchanging them for hundreds of years of stable life, but later generations hardly know their names. A young man who is the city lord presides over the ceremony. He raised his hands and shouted, "The Qishir ceremony officially begins." Everyone cheered happily. He calmly observes the ceremony. Being turned into ashes for failing to pronounce a name, this world is really dangerous. Suddenly a girl appeared, causing someone to shout, "Look, it's Liu Yanran, the top-ranked person in the national examination. She is the daughter of sword immortal Liu Ruping, very beautiful and attracting the attention of everyone here. Zhou Hao is very jealous of her. Good family background, strong academic ability, truly a genuine rich lady. If anyone can pursue her, it would really save them 10 years of hard work. It's a pity that Huaxia's mythology arena lost 2 games this morning and is currently very dangerous. I really hope Liu Yanran can awaken a powerful god, fight for the country, and win glory. I don't want to lose to Yinghua country." Liu Changxing also doesn't want to lose. The city lord calls the next person up. It is Liu Yanran. Everyone cheers for her, hoping she can summon a high-level god to save Huaxia. Liu Yanran touches the piece of crystal in front of her. The city lord is happy to see her activate the vision. A picture of 3 gods appears. In order, there are 2 sons and 1 daughter. Liu Changxing recognizes them. These pictures are really identical to the gods in his previous life. Everyone is amazed, holding their breath and waiting. She chooses the naked boy in the middle. The name of the killing god has been passed down through the ages. The nation's armies were defeated and often returned in subjugation. The iron blood loyalty shines on Leihan. The battle of Chibi stained the land with blood. She puts her hands together and says, "This junior Liu Yanran respectfully invites the killing god Bai Qi to descend." Liu Changxing is quite surprised. He doesn't understand what Bai Qi has to do with the battle of Chibi. Shouldn't it be the battle of Changping? A killing god from the Qin dynasty. A battle in the late Eastern Han, 2 events separated by hundreds of years, completely unrelated. Zhou Hao standing next to him gestures for silence. Are you crazy, doubting the number 1 in the national examination? Liu Yanran is the daughter of the sword immortal. With a profound family background, don't talk like that. As expected, as soon as he finished speaking, a series of people came to retort, "You're really a country bumpkin with shallow knowledge. Someone like you dares to evaluate the number 1 in the examination. The daughter of the sword immortal? What is the battle of Changping? Are you making up history? In the recorded classic battles, the battle of Chibi is at the top of the list." He thought to himself sadly, it seems that Huaxia's civilization has now been completely interrupted. Everyone has forgotten the painful history of that time. The host announces the matching rate is 40%. Liu Yanran summoned the S-level god of killing, Bajie. She looks at the war god being sealed, without saying anything. The people who were shouting just now don't know who said Bajie came from the Battle of Changshing, just an ignorant person. The host praises her for having a promising future. It's a pity to have to wait for her to grow up, it will still take a certain amount of time. The older examiner standing next to him says, for the next mythological battle, we still have to wait for Sword Immortal Liu to return from the frontier. But contrary to everyone's expectations, Liu Yanran turned around and made Bajie disappear. The host is surprised, not knowing what she wants to do. Could it be that she wants to activate another unknown god? This is another emperor god, who is very rare. Emperor gods are unprecedented from ancient times. With such spirit, it must be Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty. Only Emperor Taizong pacified the world when he was young, fought on the battlefield his whole life, and was praised by history as one of the great emperors. Unfortunately, there are very few records in history about the emperor. Liu Changshing again thinks that what they said is not right. During the Sui and Tang dynasties, the clothing of the emperor was mainly bright yellow. In history, there has never been a dynasty where the clothing of the emperor was black. He looked at the tall god in front of him. Could he be? Suddenly an old voice rang out, wait. The emperor god Ming appeared for the first time in the mythology platform after 100 years. According to historical records, countless emperors were born in Huaxia throughout thousands of years of history. Reckless selection, I am afraid there will be risks. This voice came from an old man with 2 pigtails tied on his beard. He is the dean of the Tianshu Academy, the head of the 4 major academies of Huaxia, named Li Xian. The city lord sees that what the old man Li Xian said is not wrong. He advises her to give up. She is the future of Huaxia, there can be no mistakes. Liu Yanran silently raises her head to look at the god. But if she leaves, this high-level god will disappear from the world. Although it is a pity, Li Xian said that they cannot bet the top combat power of the future. He orders, notify Tianshu Academy to spend 10 years of national fortune to fix the divine soul of the emperor. Let's see if any children who come to participate in the Qishur can recognize him. His disciples respectfully obey the order. Behind him is a fiery red phoenix. The phoenix takes off and flies away to carry out the mission. The soul of the god is retained. Li Xian stands up and says to everyone, students, a high-level god has appeared in Huaxia, suspected to be Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty. Everyone knows how important a high-level god is to Huaxia now. In the National Fortune War, Huaxia has been defeated miserably. They have heard the familiar announcements over and over again, in the first battle of the gods. Yinghua country versus Huaxia country, Yinghua country wins. In the second battle of the gods, Yinghua country wins. Li Xian is very worried. Huaxia has lost 2 battles of the gods. If they lose again, they will have to cede land as compensation. Without the appearance of a high-level god, relying on Sword Immortal alone, the hope is very slim. He knows that Huaxia civilization has been interrupted, and identifying the identity of the gods based on the current materials is very dangerous. Perhaps even fatal. He says to everyone here loudly, who else dares to step forward and try today? Everyone hesitates and discusses. The identity of the unknown emperor god may not be Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty. Mispronouncing the name will cost you your life. Unexpectedly, a young man patted his chest boldly and said, living in Huaxia, why should we be afraid of life and death? The Jingdu Academy is willing to try. Then, a pink-haired girl also puffed out her chest and said boldly, Chengdu Academy, Chen Yu is also willing to try. With the first person, there is also the second and third. Gradually, more and more people said they wanted to try. Suddenly, an arm was raised high. He said he knew the origin of this god, fearing it was different from the dean's judgment. The person raising his hand is our protagonist, Liu Changshing. He said he came from Jinling Academy and is also willing to try. Zhou Hao standing next to him tried to dissuade him. Everyone doesn't know who he is. They have never heard of this person. Jinling Academy is ranked low this time, right? He just questioned Yan, wanting to stand out but not to the point of risking his life. Zhou Hao is worried and doesn't know what he is joking about. He has to know that mispronouncing the name could kill him. But Changshing acts like he doesn't hear him. He still insists on stepping forward. Li Xian praises this boy for being confident. Could it be that he really knows about the life of this emperor? But when examining all the records, only Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty has the characteristics of this emperor. But what if he is wrong? He believes in the student, because he is so confident, he is willing to let him try. Li Xian says, we should never hinder the sincerity of a Huaxia person. Lu Changxing is standing here, he is smiling very confidently. The audience in Yinghua country is also watching this god selection. Everyone, look, an unknown god has appeared in Huaxia. They are actually fighting to find death. Huaxia people are not afraid because they don't know. Their culture is poor, how dare they compare with a great country like Yinghua country? They laugh at Lu Changxing, but he doesn't care. He puts his hand on the red crystal stone in front of him. A violent tremor appears. What everyone didn't expect actually happened, he activated the high-level god. Liu Yanran also looks up in surprise. It really emits a red vision. The people in Yinghua country are dumbfounded in shock. Isn't the highest god's qi luck color orange? In Huaxia history, the strongest god only has a purple qi luck. The people from Tianzhu country are also startled. They heard that only their country in Greece have an orange qi luck. The people from Bangzi country feel unwilling. What is a red qi luck? Does Huaxia deserve it? Is there something wrong with the qishur stone? The city lord and Li Xian stare blankly at this scene. This is the qi luck of a 3S level god. Currently, the levels of qi luck include white, green, blue, purple, and orange. However, very few people know that above the orange level, there is also a red qi luck. Currently, the only god in the world who possesses the red qi luck is located in the Vatican. Yes, people call him God. The city lord cannot believe his eyes. Does a 3S level god really exist in the history of Huaxia? In his mind, the 3S level god is only the limit of gods, not the limit of God. Even if they are both 3S level gods, it is difficult to be on par with God. Liu Yanran closely follows the development. Can the 3S level god be successfully awakened? That person is Lu Changxing? His results in the unified examination do not seem ideal. Even more astonishing is that, besides that emperor god, he actually activated another unknown 3S level god. God bless Huaxia. What is this god after all? Li Xian stares blankly at the god in front of him. Holding a large axe, standing tall between heaven and earth, with bulging muscles, angular face, and boundless power. Could it be Xing Tian in ancient mythology? Lu Changxing doesn't think like him. The headless Xing Tian uses his chest as his eyes, his navel as his mouth, and dances with a knife as a weapon. He has arms and legs. How can he be Xing Tian? The Huaxia mythology of this world has disappeared for too long. Perhaps this is the meaning of his coming here. At the beginning, Pangu created the universe. Ghost power and divine strength split the chaos. The fruit wine fills his heart, and his mortal body has accumulated many toxins. He bows respectfully, this junior Lu Changxing, please invite the creation god, Pangu. The audience in Yinghua country is in panic. Is this a god descending into the world? The god has been successfully summoned. Indeed, people cannot be judged by their appearance. Unexpectedly, he was able to awaken a 3S level god. How did he know the identity of this creation god? He confidently looks at the god. The old man is tall, with boundless power, and a blazing aura like a fire that never goes out. Pangu opened the heavens and created the earth, transforming his body into all things. Surely the strongest god in the world. Suddenly a system panel appears in front of him. It shows the character's name, and the compatibility is 1%. The fate god he has obtained is Pangu. It's finally here. At the same time, in the Pantheon Hall of Huaxia, the boy stares blankly. When he sees the creation god Pangu, who is the first among the successfully summoned gods, he hurriedly puts down the broom he is sweeping with, runs up to ring the Qi Luck bell, and informs the world. His small figure holds the bell stick and strikes the bell. Bing boom, the bell rings clearly, spreading everywhere. Sword Immortal Liu Ruping looks up at the sky in surprise. He wonders if he heard it wrong. The secretary next to him smiles and confirms that they did not hear it wrong. Li Xian is so happy that he is going crazy. The Qi Luck bell rings 9 times. 9 is the largest number, never before in history. He has truly awakened the Supreme God. God bless Huaxia. We have also obtained the Supreme God. Liu Yanran is very surprised. A 3S level God? The strongest God in Huaxia's history. There were only 3 rings of Qi luck. Emperor Tokugawa slams the table angrily. He asks Matsumoto Dano standing next to him if he is confident in dealing with him. This Matsumoto has several snakes sticking out, their tongues wrapped around his body. Looking very dangerous. This is just a new god. With his current compatibility, it is difficult to summon him to the field. He says confidently, with his current ability, I can easily tear him apart. And his god. Matsumoto says sternly, Huaxia's top genius, we must eliminate him in the cradle. Huaxia and we have an eternal feud, we cannot let him continue to survive. He grinds his teeth and orders, send the message, launch the god-sealing war. The god Pangu gradually disappears. The 3S level god is only the limit of gods, absolutely not the limit of Pangu. Pangu opened the heavens and created the earth. His body transformed into all things, his soul transformed into sages, absolute combat power, the strongest existence. It is a pity that his current compatibility cannot summon Pangu to the mythology arena. He has to stomp his feet and go to the side, looking at the remaining god. It seems that he can only awaken this one. A god that most people speculate is Li Shimin. Could it be true? At the same time, an announcement is made that Yinghua country will spend 10 years of national fortune to launch a god-ranking sealing war against Liu Changshing of Huaxia country. All players please prepare, in 10 minutes you will step onto the battle arena. Suddenly something appears under Changshing's feet, the earth and rocks tremble. He is staring blankly, not understanding anything. Then he is taken to the fixed pseudo-space of the god-ranking war. Meanwhile, he has not yet awakened another god. The 3 people in the room stand there staring blankly as Liu Changshing disappears. He has turned into a shadow. There is no way to save him. He has been taken into the inner realm. Li Xian and the city lord are extremely angry. Liu Yanran is also very uncomfortable, extremely sinister. The audience of Yinghua country cheers happily, they are angry and going crazy. Panicked, they have panicked. They were worried just now, but Huaxia's most promising genius is about to die. Matsumoto secretly feels complacent. The god-ranking war kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Both win the victory in the mythology arena and eliminate Huaxia's genius. After all, the Huaxia Sword Immortal is definitely not an easy person to deal with. As for the national fortune that has been spent, he can recover both the principal and the interest from Huaxia soon. Just thinking about the scene of Liu Changxing's death makes him tremble with joy. Seeing the announcement of the national fortune war, Sword Immortal Liu Ruping does not understand what happened. His secretary says that Yinghua country has spent 10 years of national fortune opening the mythology arena battle earlier. They want to eliminate our Huaxia genius first. The god-ranking sealing war can only lock gods who are 2S level or above. Once activated, the locked person must go on stage. No matter how high he can fly in the future. He is just a fledgling bird now. This way, the opponent can deploy troops in a targeted manner. This god-ranking sealing war is the first time it has appeared on the mythology arena. Yinghua country will use this to target the newly awakened godly spring of our Huaxia. It is truly an obscene move. Liu Ruping is angry and indignant. If the Huaxia genius has anything to do with this battle, next year on this day, he will definitely ride a horse and trample on Changshing. A few minutes later, Liu Changxing is taken to the battlefield. Matsumoto Dano looks at him contemptuously, launching the god-ranking sealing war for this immature child. It's really making a mountain out of a molehill. He smiles cruelly. The snakes behind him constantly stick out their tongues and hiss to scare the opponent. Immature brat, you have to be careful. Even the Huaxia Sword Immortal here, I can easily tear apart. Liu Changxing calmly thinks about the situation. He probably can't summon Pangu. Just now he used the fixed Qi luck of the Emperor God. He should appear on the mythology arena again. Seeing that he is not paying attention to him, Matsumoto goes over to provoke him. What's wrong? Don't even have the courage to look me in the eye. But his expression makes him stop. He smiles and says, his snake head probably wouldn't be bad to use for soup. Matsumoto sneers, starting to activate his lightning spirit power, speaking well, you'll see. I will personally chop off your head and feed it to my god. A girl flying in the air holds a microphone and says, "Announcement, the players on both sides have entered their positions. The Mythology Arena battle begins. Welcome everyone to the battle on the Mythology Arena. This battle on the Mythology Arena will be broadcast live globally, with the participating countries being Huaxia country and Yinghua country. This is the third battle of the series. Currently Yinghua country has won 2 victories. As long as they win one more game, Huaxia country will have to pay half of its population and half of its national fortune to Yinghua country." The girl introduces herself as AP, the host of the Mythology Arena. "Now, please have both players carefully read the rules of the Mythology Arena." A table of information appears in front of each person. The rules of the Mythology Arena include 3 conditions. First, each battle will randomly refresh 5 gods. Players can choose one to summon to participate in the battle. Second, the gods who have been summoned can only participate in the battle once, then they will never appear again. Finally, the format is a 3-game match. The winner can live, the loser will be destroyed by God. This is exactly what Liu Changshing wants. Hundreds of god fakes have died under the hands of Yamada no Orochi. Today he will settle the national feud once. He says sternly to Matsumoto, "Today we will compete for victory. We will also determine life and death." Matsumoto looks at him with his face high up. The host asks if both have understood the rules. If confirmed, they can start now. The 2 confirm the battle at the same time. The players on both sides have confirmed. The following is the personal information of the participating players. Matsumoto Minamoto, an S-level god fake, awakened a 2 S-level god. Yamada no Orochi. He proudly raises his hands to receive everyone's cheers. In contrast, hearing his name, everyone starts to whisper. Liu Changshing, a nobody, awakened a 3S level god, Pangu. At this time, he is turning his body around, warming up before entering the battle. The host looks directly at the screen and says, "Next, the third battle between the gods of Yinghua country and Huaxia country. Begins summoning the gods." Matsumoto Minamoto steps into the Chishire stone first, transforming into a projection. Emperor Tokugawa is very satisfied with him. As expected of Yamada, Matsumoto Dano is truly a god-loving S-level fake. The level of compatibility is almost perfect. Inside the inner realm of the Chishire stone, Yamamoto has successfully summoned his god. The purple snake is baring its fangs and glaring at people. The people of Huaxia country shout madly, "Oh, we will definitely win. Yamada has torn apart 2 of your gods. Tremble, you snot-nosed brat." On Liu Changshing's side, he slowly shrinks his body to summon the god. The people of Huaxia country bite their teeth as they watch the next scene unfold. He turns around and only sees a few familiar gods. Everyone is frustrated. The new god-loving fake and the god have a level of compatibility that is too low. The creation god Pangu has not been made. Has he failed? Has heaven harmed Huaxia? In front of him is an as yet unknown god. He thinks the god should not be forgotten, or buried in the dust of history. Seeming to guess his actions, everyone shouts, "Is he trying to choose that unknown emperor god? Too risky." Li Xian shouts a reminder, "Changshing, the most probable identity of this emperor god is Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty, as recorded in historical documents." However, Liu Yanran thinks otherwise. Based on the records in the museum, it could also be the Ming Emperor Zhu Yuanshang. Liu Changshing does not answer Li Xian, just smiles and looks at this god. He says with a clear voice, "The king of Qin swept away the 6 kingdoms, wielding his sword to sever the floating clouds. The tiger gazes upon the mighty mountains. The feudal lords all come from the west, overlooking the world, eternal emperor." He is cautious and serious, puts his hands in front of his chest and says, "The unfilial later generations pay their respects to Huaxia's first emperor, Ying Zheng." A golden light appears on the head of this god, shining through his whole body. The soul of this god is condensed, and clearly appears. Everyone cannot believe it. He succeeded, unexpected, to also be a 2's level god. The people of the Huaxia nation is extremely happy. They continuously say, "Heaven help Huaxia." Li Xian is still worried and says, "What a pity to also be an human god." The power of human gods is normally weaker than demon gods in the same level. Changshing has only recently merged with this human god. I fear that he is. It will be hard to be in the same level with the opponent Yamada no Orochi. The body of the god Ying Zheng has shrunken. He walks to the front of Liu Changshing. The host announces, "Both parties have successfully summoned their gods. the battle begins. Matsumoto strokes his chin and laughs mockingly. As I expected, you are not capable of summoning the creation. God, I did not expect you to summon such a weak human god. Human gods are just ordinary people. Ignoring his mocking words, Liu Changshing still humbly bows. To the god that he has recently summoned, the unfilial descendant, Liu Changshing, pays his respects to his ancestor. Later generations have forgotten you, it's really unfilial. However, starting from today, later generations will forever remember the contributions of the first emperor. You have united the world, writing, roads, united 7 countries, planted the seeds of unified thought in the hearts of the people of Xia, across hundreds of generations. Thousands of generations, our Xia people, generation after generation, will always remember the territory of the motherland, as inseparable. You cause for thousands of miles of mountains and rivers to no longer be invaded by foreign races, to be arbitrarily trampled over the people, building the miracle on earth. The Great Wall of 10,000 miles rises proudly. Protecting the country and its people, you burned all the heretical thoughts and books that foolish people in the world. A ray of brilliant golden light appears between the two people. The information panel clearly shows the compatibility of the Ying Zheng that Changshing has recently summoned is 60%. Everyone is surprised. Is Liu Changshing really talking about the history of Huaxia? In Huaxia's history, which emperor has such great merits? Matsumoto is still very arrogant, so what if he is the emperor? How much waves can a human god cause? Ying Zheng points his finger and asks who that person is. He says that is a foreign race that oppresses Huaxia. Ying Zheng immediately frowned in anger. How dare lowly foreign races to oppress Huaxia? Whoever touches Huaxia must die. The Yinghua country people hear this and laugh to tears. Have you heard what I said? A human god dares to say such arrogant words. Have you guys forgotten the scene of the 2 gods being torn apart? Previously, as expected of the gods of Huaxia, the best at comforting themselves. Matsumoto sneers, as expected of someone that was once an emperor, really full of presence. The snakes on his body slightly fidget. It raises its head and opens its mouth. The hearts of people are ordinary. Unexpected for you to be so arrogant to challenge the real gods. It is so pitiful and laughable. At first I thought it would be a dramatic great battle. Unexpectedly there would appear a human god. Really boring. Your small body does not even have the qualifications to be my food. The god Ying Zheng raises his hand, condensing his power. He says in his whole life, the only thing that he regretted was that he has never cut apart a god. In his hand, there is a blazing sword of fire. This sword is named the Ding Qin. The audiences from Tianzhu country is attentively watching. The human gods of Huaxia is really preparing to fight. The audiences from Bangzi country is suddenly in pity for them. The audiences from Greece is very incredulous. The god called Yamata says arrogantly, it's alright, mosquitoes are still meat. Come, show off your swordsmanship. Try not to make me disappointed. After that it opens its mouth. The bodies that are covered in lightning fly whizzing towards. This time, I will let this person clearly know the difference between demon gods and human gods. A tiny mortal dares to dream of competing with gods. It heads straight down at Liu Changshing. The ground drastically shakes. The damage that it causes is hard to imagine. The Emperor Tokugawa says serenely, it's over. This Emperor of Huaxia will likely be the same as the 2 previous gods, easily torn apart. The audiences watching on the platform also see that. They look at the stands, then stands up wanting to leave. There's no other way. Who told Huaxia to summon human gods? No matter how high their grades are, their inborn weakness still cannot be compared to demon gods. Really not a bit of suspense at all. There definitely won't be anyone that will believe that a human god can beat a real god, right? However, the number that appears in front of them is different. In the middle a stream of golden light that slashes through the purple snake. Ying Zheng's sword Ding Qin whips up, decisive across the mouth of the snake Yamata. Appearing with that stream of light is a picture of an angry dragon face. The head of the snake Yamata is cut off. The Emperor Tokugawa doesn't believe in his eyes. The people of Huaxia country is extremely happy. With just one sword he has chopped off the head of Yamata no Orochi. The god Yamata is also confused. There is no any divine power flowing in your body. How can it give off power not losing to mighty gods? How did you even do it? Ying Zheng carries the sword in his hand. It is still blazing. Those that follow shall live, those that defy shall die. He says, Jin said this is the Qigong technique of immortal Qin, condensed from the millions of refining Qishur of Huaxia, able to defy heavens and do Li Xian felt extremely proud. I didn't expect that our Huaxia ancestors could create such powerful cultivation methods. Yamada praised the art of weapon refinement as an interesting trinket. Unfortunately, what Ying Zheng severed was only one of its snake heads. That snake head quickly recovered and regenerated. Its body can have limbs severed and regenerate, either dying nor vanishing. It opened its mouth arrogantly and said, "What qualifications does a mere demigod have to stop me? Mortals should grovel humbly on the ground. You dare injure me? Then immediately descend into the Avicii hell, never to be reincarnated for eternity." Ying Zheng's aura did not diminish at all. "If I fail, I will be ashamed of the great Qin and its people. What is there to fear from death? But I have never been defeated by any enemy in my life." The deity Yamada opened its mouth even wider, arrogant. Immediately after, its body was severed again. Blood dripped down, and Ying Zheng staggered slightly. Yamada's body regenerated again. It told him to give up, foolish human. The Huaxia people in the audience covered their heads in despair. Severed limbs regenerate, either dying nor vanishing. Can humans really resist such a deity? Can Huaxia really defeat such a brutal demon god? Ying Zheng was injured, but he refused to back down. Neither dying nor vanishing? Even the ancient immortal gods could not achieve that, according to the records. He swung his sword again, slashing across Yamada's body. He felt its weakness. With such recovery, how many more times could it withstand? The snake stubbornly insisted not to resist despairingly, and it slammed into him. Ying Zheng was struck and fell to the ground. His blood dripped down. He coughed weakly, looking very frail. The Huaxia people watching this scene were saddened and wept. On the mythical arena, the blood of the Huaxia ancestors is spilled. Li Xian turned to the city lord and said, "Let's prepare to concede. My heart is now as ashes. If you don't die and continue to lead Huaxia, you will create a strong Huaxia standing atop the world. We cannot let the Huaxia ancestors shed more blood and sacrifice themselves." Yamada kept flicking its tongue menacingly. Its body had too much energy, as if it were endless. Clearly, he felt he was just a bit short. But he had sensed the aura coming from Great Qin. Beneath the heavens, all land belongs to the Emperor. A golden dragon appeared to confront the purple snake. The spirits of the gods on the bodies of the Huaxia people were successively extracted. They all advanced towards the same goal. That was the purple snake lying on the ground. Ying Zheng's eyes emitted golden light. He shouted, "Great Qin immortal armor! All the gods have gathered in one place." They obeyed his orders and rushed forward together to dismember Yamada. Boom boom, every part of it was surrounded, and it was attacked madly by the gods. Yamada fell. Seeing the situation was not good, Matsumoto was worried. How could a mere human race god summon so many terrifying demigods? No, he won't lose. He looked at his hand. That's right, there's still me. He smiled slyly at him. Fool, so what if you have good talent? Will you have time to grow? He knelt on one knee, put his hands in position, and his body disappeared, turning into a phantom. I'm afraid you've forgotten that if the divine attendant dies, it is also counted as a failure. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Changshing. The Huaxia people hurriedly told him to be careful. Matsumoto is behind you, run away quickly. His knife flashed across him, but he quickly dodged it. Then he grabbed his arm, threw him backward, and counterattacked. The audience stared in astonishment. What? Liu Changshing's strength? Wasn't he just promoted to divine attendant? And he has the lowest compatibility with the creation god. How powerful is the inheritance of Pangu? He coldly looked at the man who had been taken down under his feet. Pangu is my divine mandate. Even with low compatibility, it is enough to make my body as solid as a rock. Matsumoto struggled to get up. Kid, I was careless just now. I didn't expect a new god attendant like you to have such strength. But do you understand divine arts? Do you have magic power? You're still just a useless, lowly wretch. His body split into two. He used the shadow clone technique. My clones can completely inherit the abilities of the main body. 2 against 1, I am a 2S level divine attendant. Do you still have a chance to win? But unfortunately, Changshing easily grabbed the legs of these 2 clones, decisively pulled the 2 together, and slammed them into each other. As expected of a 2S level divine attendant, really stubborn. Everyone in Huaxia had completely become his fans. Liu Changshing is the best. The girls competed to say they wanted to marry him. I admire Liu Xin. I want to have children for you. I came first. Liu Xin, I don't need a betrothal gift, just the house as dowry. The people of Manhwa were painfully screaming. No! Did the great god Yamada lose? Shut up! Yamada Darren hasn't lost yet. Emperor Tokugawa trembled in fear. I didn't expect that. Not only are the demigods terrifying, but even the divine attendants possess such power. The gods constantly attacked, cutting off every limb on Yamada's body. Ying Zheng solemnly witnessed this process. Yamada became crazy. It said it needed sacrifices. The audience of Manhwa suddenly melted. Their souls all condensed into Yamada's body and healed it, helping it regenerate. Liu Changshing stepped on Matsumoto, who was already dying. If the divine attendant dies, the summoned god will return to the gate of creation. He looked up at the purple snake. We must eliminate Yamada no Orochi first, eliminating the eternal scourge. It flicked its tongue again and rushed over. Foolish Huaxia demigod, do you think you are fighting against me? No, you are fighting against countless people of Manhwa behind me. Ying Zheng asked it, can the people you speak of be discarded by you like worn shoes? The people you speak of are just those who sacrificed their lives, becoming food to help you recover from your injuries? The Manhwa audience was shocked by this truth. Ying Zheng raised his hand and said with a smile, I have spent half my life in military service, and at the end of my life, I sought the path of immortality. People say I am foolish. At the end of my life, I realized a method, although I cannot immediately become immortal. But it can make all the people like dragons. His body flew up. All the summoned gods bowed respectfully. He stood in the air, gathering all his strength. This is the Changshing Qi refinement technique. It is the power that the Huaxia people bestowed upon me. Liu Yanran looked up in surprise. What's going on? The fusion between me and the god keeps increasing. The Huaxia people felt healed. I feel a terrifying power in my body. My eyes have become brighter again. Ying Zheng's body gradually aged. In my life, I only hope that great Qing will last forever, the country prosperous, and the people at peace. I wish all people in the world, everyone like a dragon, eternal life. The Huaxia people were deeply moved. Is this our Huaxia ancestor? He has such a great aspiration, willing to sacrifice everything for the people. Ying Zheng's body burned like a flame about to flicker out one last time. The king of the Great Eagle Empire commented, Yamada takes the people as food for sacrifice, while the Huaxia demigod is willing to sacrifice his life for the people. The difference is clear. The people of the United States also looked at the Huaxia people with different eyes. Is this the foundation of the mysterious ancient country of the East? It cannot be underestimated. Ying Zheng asked, where is the great Qin immortal armor? The gods replied in unison, they are here. Ying Zheng tremblingly raised a hand commanding them to punish the Yi tribe. All of them simultaneously turned their backs and rushed to kill together. Yamada turned its head to look. Before it could do anything, every segment of its body was chopped off. The gods and demigods rushed into the battle, slashing and killing. Yamada roared. It wanted to continue sacrificing. The bodies of hundreds of people turned into fine powder, sacrificing to it. Emperor Tokugawa trembled, thinking, it can't continue like this. Sacrificing to Yamada no Orochi are all the elite divine attendants of Manhwa. He pleaded earnestly, Yamada Darren, why don't you just accept death? Manhwa really can't bear such a heavy price anymore. The people of Manhwa became angry. The Huaxia demigod wants all living beings to be like dragons, but you only know how to demand sacrifices. They said in unison, please, Yamada Darren, accept death. Ying Zheng raised his sword, condensing his power. Pointing the sharp tip of the sword at Yamada, your people will eventually abandon you. The sword was raised high. A golden dragon manifested, marking the end of everything. Finally, Yamada no Orochi died. Its body completely faded. He coldly looked at Matsumoto lying on the ground. The divine attendant is dead, so there's no need to keep your dog life anymore. He stepped hard on his neck. Matsumoto Minamoto died instantly. Changshing coldly left. The beautiful host announced, Huaxia demigod Liu Changshing vs. Manhwa's Matsumoto Minamoto. Liu Changshing wins. Everyone was deeply moved. He really did it. Li Xian was surprised beyond belief. This was really defeating a deity with a mortal identity. The city lord praised him for doing a great job. The beautiful host continued her work. The performance of the young Huaxia people is truly astonishing. Next, the next god battle will begin. After a few minutes of rest, please have the god proxies of the two countries prepare. Ying Zheng staggered, holding the sword, trying to stand firm. His body was weakened. The Huaxia people became worried. Why was the ancestor so weak? Li Xian sadly said, Huaxia has almost no faith power towards this deity. This battle has damaged his origin. Lu Changshing worriedly called out to the ancestor. Ying Zheng said he could no longer accompany him. His body gradually turned into an illusory image. He had a wish, may all people in the world. Before he could finish speaking, he disappeared. Everyone was stunned. The ancestor left? Li Xian said that the power of the gods completely relies on the power of faith. Before, no one knew of the existence of the first emperor. The Huaxia ancestor exhausted his life for this battle. The Huaxia people burst into tears with emotion. Unfilial descendants have forgotten him. On Lu Changxing's information panel, it clearly stated that Qin Shi Huang was temporarily frozen, waiting for the power of faith to accumulate the origin so that he could be summoned again. The compatibility reached 90%. He realized that Emperor Shi Huang had not really disappeared. When the power of faith was accumulated, he could be summoned again. After summoning Shi Huang, increasing the compatibility. The compatibility with the god of fate Pangu would also be increased. Just thinking about it made him very happy. If he could summon hundreds of gods in the future, summoning Pangu to descend would not be a distant dream. He shouted to everyone, Emperor Shi Huang has not left, he is just temporarily resting. When the name of Shi Huang is spread throughout Huaxia again, that is when he will return. Everyone was delighted by this news. The ancestor is still alive, fortunately. Li Xian ordered the city lord to record the deeds of Shi Huang in books so that they would be passed down forever. They could not let the gods of Huaxia be buried in the dust of history. At this time, Sword Immortal Liu Ruping breathed a sigh of relief that he had arrived in time. Fortunately, heaven blessed Huaxia, allowing a genius like Lu Changxing to behead the eight-headed snake. Orochi. Unexpectedly, the secretary behind him smiled meaningfully. She said, with my blood, open the god arena? An announcement sounded, Yinghua's Miko Hanma challenges Huaxia's Liu Ruping on the god arena. In 10 minutes the battle will begin. He looked at her in shock. I didn't expect you to be a spy for Yinghua. She took off her glasses, removed her hair tie, slowly revealing her true self. I have been hiding by your side for 10 years, just waiting for such an opportunity. Huaxia without you, even if there are geniuses with extremely high talent blessed by the gods, they will be strangled in the cradle. Her face became charming and arrogant, completely different from her usual obedient appearance. She affirmed, Huaxia will definitely be dependent on our Yinghua. Liu Ruping drew his sword, summoning a god at the same time. You reap what you sow, you cannot live. A student came to inform Li Xian about this. He frowned and said to him, Sword Immortal Liu Ruping was attacked by a spy from Yinghua and cannot make it to the mythical arena in time. For the next battle, we need to reselect the participant. Everyone became worried. I didn't expect Yinghua to be so despicable. A life and death battle, the Sword Immortal is absent, the chances of winning are very slim. In the past, the deans of the 4 major academies of Huaxia, 2 had been defeated by the 8-headed snake Orochi. Over the years, only Sword Immortal Liu Ruping has maintained a winning record in matches against the gods of Yinghua. The 4th match is about to begin. Li Xian did not have much time to think. He said that he had exhausted all his energy in the previous battle. Let me take the next match. Behind him, the fire phoenix spread its wings brilliantly, ready to fight. Changshing refused him. He put his hand on his chest, telling him to let him take the match. He had a higher chance of winning. Li Xian told him not to be stubborn. Zhou Hao and Liu Yanran also agreed with Li Xian's proposal. Let the dean take the match, Changshing. After all, you don't know every god you summon. The dean has extensive knowledge and is the strongest of the 4 academies in Huaxia. His chances of winning are higher. His eyes became serious. Then he said he had a dream. Suddenly something appeared behind them. The fire phoenix from before reappeared, fluttering and flying around. The heavenly jade palace, the 12 towers and 5 cities, an immortal soothes my head. ties my hair and grants me longevity." In Changshing's dream, an old immortal smiled and stroked his head. After waking up, the hidden myths of Huaxia had appeared in his mind. In a moment, the scene of the immortal just now had also disappeared. No one knew what had happened. According to what Li Xian knew, in ancient times, there were also great scholars like Long Chang who realized the truth. There were also high-ranking Buddhist monks and Taoists who, in a moment of meditation, attained enlightenment and became immortal. Enlightenment in one night is not rare. This also explained why he could recognize gods who had never appeared in Huaxia's books. The two faced each other. The city lord also stepped forward to persuade. He knew he wanted to prove himself, but the dean had more extensive knowledge. He knew all the gods in the books like the back of his hand. He was young and very talented. There was no need to risk his life for a moment of temporary bravado. Changshing's person blazed, the phoenix appeared again, the phoenix soars in the 9 heavens, the sacred fire reborn, bright Kunlun, mouth holding cinnabar fruit. At peace in the world, wings spread golden light, set the 8 barren lands. Li Xian stared blankly at it. This is divinity. Changshing has given the dark bird a new divinity. The dean's dark bird came from the ancient gods. Lu Changshing just casually described it, and gave the dark bird a new divinity. Unexpectedly, the dark bird was also called the phoenix. This is a title that has never been recorded in books. Unexpectedly, Changshing really knows so much about the hidden myths of Huaxia. Changshing stared at the fire phoenix. Li Xian had seen his determination and had to compromise. What you said is not false. Giving a god divinity requires consuming lifespan. Take a rest and prepare to fight well. Changshing turned around and saw Liu Yanran. So he added a few more descriptions of her god. The name of Wu Anjuan will be famous for thousands of years. Surprisingly killed the god in the Changping battle. Iron horse, armor, put down the 6 countries, guarded the 4 directions, ghosts and gods all wept. After speaking, he left. She stared blankly after him. Someone curiously asked what he was doing. Someone replied, he is giving new divinity to the S-level gods of Huaxia and above, but giving divinity will consume lifespan. He is using his life to light the fire for Huaxia. On the mythical arena, the host announced the 4th match of the arena. Huaxia country against Dinghua country is about to begin. The players on both sides have been confirmed. Here is the personal information of the 2 participating players. Huaxia is still the young genius who won Liu Changxing. No one knows his level yet. Yinghua's person is Sakura's own Momo. The Yinghua audience continued to insult him. Huaxia's representative is Liu Changxing again. Has the talent of Huaxia declined to this point? His summoned god just fell. This is another opportunity for us. Emperor Tokugawa was very smug. The shadow hidden beside the sword immortal has begun to act. Sakurazora Momo's god of fate is best at bewitching. This time, Huaxia will definitely be defeated. The girl facing him had pink hair and eyes and wore a traditional kimono. The people of Huaxia were infatuated with her. What's going on? It turns out it's a young and beautiful girl. It must be admitted, she is really beautiful. Li Xian gritted his teeth in annoyance. This time, there was absolutely no information about the participating divine attendant of Yinghua. The girl named Momo touched the crystal stone and began to choose her god. The countdown was 50 seconds, but Liu Changxing had not done anything yet. Everyone wondered why he had not summoned the god yet. The audience was anxious. There is less than 1 minute left, what are you hesitating for? Summon the god quickly. There is no time left. The opponent's god has been selected, it is the 9-tailed fox, Tamamo no Mei. On the audience stand of the Great Eagle Empire, the boys saw her and blushed. Oh my god, what kind of god is this? Is she an angel sent by God? She is so beautiful that she is unimaginable. Even the monks of Tianzhu could not resist this beauty. The moment she appeared, a ripple unexpectedly arose in my originally calm heart. It turned out to be a god who once stepped onto the mythical arena. The people of Huaxia know nothing about her. Such amazing beauty, I hope Liu Changxing is not bewitched. As he expected, the god she summoned was the leader of the 3 great demon kings of Yinghua. Since he already knew the god she summoned, then there was no need to wait any longer. He also touched the crystal stone. A light flashed. It turned out to be him. Liu Changxing looked closely at this god. A god with the appearance of a strong pig, holding a soil rake in his hand, looking very majestic. Martial Tianping Jintianguan, iron armor majestic sunlight Han. Nine-toothed rake, horizontal world, 36 changes against 10,000 difficult. In the Huaxia audience stand, everyone was shocked. Is Liu Changshing going to summon a demon god? Zhou Hao held his head worriedly. Don't do it, Liu Changshing, your god of fate is a demigod. Liu Yanran also frowned. The god of fate determines what system of gods can be summoned. Before, the Pangu god he summoned was clearly a demigod. Summoning the wrong system of gods will lead to death. Liu Changshing remained unchanged. He respectfully bowed and called his name, respectfully welcome Marshal Tianping Zhu Ganglai. The people of Yinghua were very happy. The old monkey is out of tricks, the genius of Huaxia is trying to summon a demon god again. Ancestors who have summoned demon gods before have all died on the God Awakening platform. Emperor Tokugawa grinned. A choice that will definitely lead to death. It seems that he does not have the ability to summon other gods, so he is forced to summon a demon god. Marshal Tianping broke the pig form, shed his skin, and transformed into a handsome young male god. The people of Yinghua were shocked, only lamenting heaven and earth. The Huaxia people cheered happily. Changshing is invincible. Li Xian also found it strange. Could it be that Pangu is not limited to the human god system? The city lords saw that they had succeeded. Liu Changshing had summoned a demon god without any damage. Li Xian's eyes were tearful. He said emotionally, it seems that Pangu, as the god of creation, has a foundation far beyond our imagination. Huaxia has hope. Seeing that the situation was not as expected, Emperor Tokugawa was angry again. This demon god is still male in body. I believe no man can resist the fascination of Tamamo no Me. Marshal Tianping had stood on the field. He asked why it was so noisy outside. He explained that this was a mythical broadcast platform, and other races were oppressing Huaxia. He bent down and begged him to suppress the gods of other races. Zhu Ganglai shrunk the trident he was holding, calmly said that he hated fighting all his life. Clenching the trident in his hand, he said, I just want to quietly watch the moon, secretly stay with her. What does the oppression of Huaxia by other races have to do with me? After speaking, he leisurely left. He bowed and pleaded with him step by step. Don't you want to see Chang'e again? Don't you want to see the Jade Emperor and Master again? Zhu Ganglai glanced at Liu Changshing. This place has little incense. It can be regarded as the Dharma ending age. Someone knows Chang'e and even knows the monkey and Tang monk's disciples. He smiled and said that he not only knew, but also had the ability to summon them. Zhu Ganglai sneered, relying on you? Liu Changshing knew that he did not want to become someone else's pawn. But if he could summon the gods of Huaxia, use the power of thousands of Buddhas to tear apart the boundless darkness, return to him the lost purity and honor, to let Chang'e, the great sage, and Xuanzang escape from bondage, attain liberation, would you be willing to fight? The spiritual power on Zhu Ganglai erupted. Han transformed back into Zhu Bajie, grabbed his neck and asked, Are you teasing me? Strangled, he trembled, trying to hold his breath, while saying, What if I rely on this one? A majestic god appeared in front of Zhu Ganglai. He blurted out, Pangu the Great Venerable. Then he released Liu Changshing. You can summon Pangu the Great Venerable? I underestimated you. He asked him again, Marshal Tianping, are you willing to fight? Zhu Ganglai looked at him. Since Pangu the Great Venerable is willing to live in your place, old Zhu can trust you. That is, the agreement between the two has been reached. He looked to the other side and asked, Who do you need to fight next? You can just say it. That is the nine-tailed fox. A nine-tailed fox from a foreign race. She is good at bewitching and has a strange attraction to male students. Zhu Ganglai twisted his hands to warm up. A small barbarian demon, I thought it would be a big trouble. The Yinghua country people on the stands were pointing at him. Look, why hasn't Liu Changshing fought yet? The new god chosen of Huaxia seems to be so captivated by Sakura's own Momo that his soul is gone. Look at the demon god he summoned, unexpectedly a big-eared, large-faced pig. The trident was slammed into the ground. Zhu Ganglai reappeared in a handsome form, ready to fight. A girl from Bangzi country was infatuated with his beauty. I have to say, this demon god's aura is so masculine. People from Tianzhu country highly valued his strength. Because of this ancient demon god of Huaxia, The divine power contained in his body should not be underestimated. People from the Dang Empire were also watching closely. I wonder if this male demon god can withstand Tamamo no Mei's charm? Momo slowly approached. She took off her outer garment while saying, I must say, you and the god you summoned are both very attractive. However, I have a very good proposal. Momo threw off her jacket. She was wearing a modernized kimono underneath, revealing her seductive body curves. Lu Changshing, why not join my Yinghua country? Her eyes were glazed, and her lips curved into a charming smile. We will definitely make you a close confidant. We are not like Huaxia country, letting a newly awakened genius god-chosen delve into danger and fight multiple consecutive battles. The people of Yinghua country will enshrine your god, and spare no effort to help you grow. Her invitation was extremely tempting, easily swaying others. This was a psychological warfare tactic, which worried the Huaxia people. Changshing, absolutely do not believe her bewitching words. Momo continued to invite, what we can give is not only supreme power and wealth, but also. Her eyes were hazy and indifferent, her cheeks flushed as if drunk. Momo smiled charmingly and pointed to herself. The boys were almost unable to resist. Although Yinghua country is hateful, she is really lovable. Supreme power, beauty, and authority. If it were me, I would have wavered already. I wonder what Lu Changxing will choose. Without any time for thought, he refused directly. Momo persistently used her beauty, flaunting all her charm. If I am still not enough, then any female god chosen in Yinghua country can be collected by you at will. The beautiful girls in Yinghua country continuously invited Lu Changxing. Everyone's attire was revealing, covering what should be covered and exposing what should be exposed. Almost no one could resist. Lu Changxing spun the mini trident in his hand. I don't understand what you're talking about. The trident grew larger. This is the divine weapon's initial form. After Yuanping agreed to fight, I could also possess the mystique of using the nine-toothed trident. Momo clicked her tongue in regret. You could have had a brilliant future. His gaze remained unchanged, still as solemn as before. When I was studying modern history, the professor once said to me, dignity is only on the tip of a sword. Truth is only in the process of firing cannons. Tolerance and running away will only make those who bully you even more arrogant and unscrupulous. If I flinch, how can I be worthy of the thousands upon thousands of people behind me? Huaxia is a country that values etiquette, welcoming friends with delicacies and fine wine, treating enemies only with war. The Huaxia people were all stirred by his words. Well said, dignity is on the tip of a sword. To treat Yinghua country, we only have guns and cannons. Well said, invaders of Huaxia, even if they are far away, must be killed. Who is willing to take up arms, roam on horseback? Only my Changshing, horses run in Nanshan. Overthrowing feudalism, wolves dwelling in the kidneys, a man's will. Lu Changxing put the trident behind him and slightly lowered his body to prepare to attack. At this time, the little boy in the pantheon was still diligently sweeping. The boy discovered a change. Upgraded, national fortune not only doubled. Lu Changxing jumped up, spinning the trident, which occasionally emitted lightning. Momo raised her fan, using the Shanshui Huajin to defend. The two sides clashed head-on, creating a loud explosion. Momo was knocked back. A newcomer who can unleash such a powerful blow. I've made up my mind, this person must not be kept alive. She continued to retreat. If there is no way to invite him, then I can only kill him. Placing her hands in front of her chest, Momo chanted, Shadow Clone Technique. Many identical Momos appeared. She was very confident, so what if he defeated Matsumoto Genso? How could someone with brute force like him understand the subtleties of magic? Lu Changxing was more cautious because her magic power far exceeded Matsumoto Genso. Momo drew her sword. A series of other Momos also rushed up. They all launched the Nitten Ichiryu, Mumio Zan. Lu Changxing stared blankly, then fell to the ground, luckily dodging. He struggled to deal with them, unable to counterattack. Seeing him like this, the Yinghua country people sneered, as expected of a genius girl, fully comprehending Miyamoto Musashi's Nitten Ichiryu. Quickly kill this kid, so that he will cede land and compensate Huaxia. The Momo girls also laughed contemptuously. I didn't expect you to be unable to withstand even one blow, truly gold and jade on the outside, but empty inside. They all raised their swords this time. Let's see how you dodge. They jumped up together, continuously slashing forward. Lu Changxing stood up, making a decision. If I want to avoid, I can't. Then there's no need to avoid. He roared, "Eat this, strike!" Then he slammed the trident into the ground, creating a violent tremor, with rocks and soil flying everywhere. The tremor spread to the real Momo, successfully hitting her. Seeing this, the people of Yinghua country frowned in displeasure. Momo lay on the ground, asking how he could recognize her real body. In another corner, her god, the nine-tailed fox Tamamo, was also fighting with Tianping Marshal. It arrogantly said, "You pig demon, if you know to kneel before me, I can let you admire the scenery under my skirt." People from Bao Tai country looked at the screen, drooling greedily, "My goddess, so beautiful. If I could kiss her, I would agree to shorten my life by 10 years. Li Xian worriedly observed the battle. "I don't know if this flamboyant demon god can resist Yu Zhao's bewitchment." Zhu Ganglai remembered the image of Heng Yi in his heart. Compared to her, this she-devil is extremely ugly. Tamamo was stunned to hear that. "You say I'm extremely ugly?" Without saying more, Zhu Ganglai held the trident and flew to attack immediately. The Yinghua country boys angrily slammed the table. "On what basis do you say our goddess is ugly? Just sprinkle a little urine and look at yourself in the mirror. You pig demon! Shameless! Before such stunning beauty, aren't you ashamed?" Just as Zhu Gonglie's trident touched the ground, the fox Tamamo nimbly flipped over to dodge. It jumped back a distance. "This is the first time someone has said I'm ugly." It put its hands in a defensive stance, condensing a purple ring of seals. "You will pay a heavy price for your words." It raised its hands above its head, constantly chanting, "This is Wu country, God's country, receiving the true heart of Mizufu Tadashi, Kokakisi fu Ashimba. Junko Ten, Junko Kasen, Junin Junin Suiten Nikko, where Kite Terasiki, Furo Moto Iwai Kuni Ni Motom Yakamayu Ni Kawan, Kore Okujuta Nasu, Ten Sho Suiten Nikko Ten Sho Yaya Chinishi." Its feet slammed hard on the ground, causing Zhu Ganglai to fly out. It ended with 4 words, "Wrath of the Heavenly Gods." Now its whole body was glowing, with abundant purple spirit force and overflowing power. Lu Changshing frowned worriedly. Suiten Nikko Ten Sho Yaya Chinishi, also known as Yada no Kagami, one of Japan's 3 sacred treasures, under the assistance of the sacred treasure. Yuzo's demon power has skyrocketed nearly 10-fold. Tianping Marshal also increased his power by using Fatian Xiangdi. His body was wrapped in lightning. The two sides looked at each other tensely. Tamamo rushed forward, using Heavenly Demon Spirit Strike. Zhu Ganglai stood firmly in place, ready to counterattack. As soon as it approached, he spun the trident in his hand, creating a protective barrier, neutralizing Tamamo's attack. Then, he ran up and slashed its body horizontally. Lu Changshing was surprised by Tianping Marshal's strength. Yu Zhao Qian is the leader of the 3 great demon kings of Yinghua country, a 3S level god, the trump card that Yinghua country hasn't revealed. Meanwhile, Zhuge only has a 2S level, but can easily suppress the opponent. I only have an E-level god chosen, but I successfully summoned the 2S level god Zhu Bajie. Meanwhile, In Kong Tao is an S-level god chosen, summoning the 3S level god Yu Zhao Qian. It seems that you can't just rely on the awakening level to judge the strength of any god. After a fierce battle, Tamamo wiped away a smear of blood from her lips. Its clothes were torn in several places. It said uncomfortably, "You pig-headed bastard, you have completely provoked me." It raised its hands high, darkening the sky. In the stands, everyone was stunned because the sky suddenly turned dark. Hundreds of blazing purple demon flames appeared around Tamamo. It waved its hand and shouted, "Go to hell, you pig-headed bastard." The burning sky fox fire was cast. All the demon flames simultaneously attacked Zhu Ganglai. Boom boom, a series of loud explosions resounded continuously. The Huaxia country people anxiously watched. Zhu Ganglai used Shui Lai, suddenly creating a circular shield for himself. Then he looked up at the sky. 2 gods, 1 male and 1 female, appeared, using lightning to counterattack Tamamo's demon fire. The two sides continuously responded to each other, the battle becoming chaotic. The land under Tamamo's feet had become a deep pit. What was even more shocking to it was, Zhu Ganglai had created a giant whirlpool to extinguish all the flames. It wondered where this water came from. He said this was the water of the Milky Way. The water waves wrapped around him like a silk ribbon that could help people fly. He took advantage of it to cast the wind control technique and fly high. The Yinghua country people silently watched the battle, no longer as high-spirited as before. The water gathered in one place, accumulating around the trident. Zhu Ganglai prepared to use his accumulated power to attack. Tamamo hurriedly erected a protective shield, Sui Ten Niko Ten Shou Yaya Chinishi. Boom boom, water collided with fire, the destructive power it created was unimaginable. The blade of the trident collided with the barrier. The protective shield was completely shattered. Tamamo was stunned and fell to the ground. The Huaxia country people were delighted. Tianping Marshal's strength is really too strong, crushing the fox demon of Yinghua country. It seems that we have a firm grasp on victory. This Grand Preceptor directly shattered Yuzo Qian's extremely powerful magic weapon. The atmosphere in the stands of Yinghua country was completely the opposite. Everyone was silent. At this time, Zhu Ganglai still held the trident, continuing to use water and lightning to fight with Tamamo. He discovered that he was only fighting with its soul, while its real body had quickly escaped. Tamamo became anxious. Physical strength, hard training, unparalleled, even proficient in magic, even magic power is stronger than her, there really are no flaws. Since when did Huaxia have a god spring fake, capable of summoning a monster like this? Before it could think any further, Zhu Ganglai attacked again. Stealth technique? I know it too. Then he rushed forward like lightning, using Ti Kuang Dan, striking directly into the belly of the nine-tailed fox. It couldn't dodge in time, and was sent flying a long distance. Its body was injured, with drops of blood. It gritted its teeth and admitted, "Consider yourself formidable." Not willing to surrender, Tamamo unleashed a new move. Its 9 fox tails stood up straight. It summoned 3 more gods. The Yinghua country people regained their confidence, as expected of Amaterasu Amakami, Zitsuin Tongzi, Dayua Wanzi Quan Yu Amaterasu Amakami. Huaxia is finished. Kuang Xiao had fallen into a demon state, roaring in anger, "Huaxia ga die!" It conjured a rain of swords heading straight for Zhu Ganglai. The goddess standing below assisted it. Seeing this, Zhu Bajie used the 36 transformations, transforming himself into a bird, flying nimbly and quickly, avoiding the danger. Then he returned to his original form, truly a flirtatious fox, calling for reinforcements when you can't win. It's just a few true spirits, even if it were the real body. Old Pig wouldn't be afraid at all. Tamamo, hearing this, provoked him. "Then why are you still running away, acting like a turtle hiding its head?" Zhu Ganglai replied. "Who said Old Pig wanted to run?" Zhu Ganglai used a combination of the law manifestation of heaven and earth, lightning, and the water of the Milky Way. After circling the trident for a while, he stood it upright. Small whirlpools wrapped around it. He is the Grand Marshal Tianping, in charge of the water palace of the Milky Way. Then he raised the trident high, the small whirlpools now becoming towering water columns. They rolled in, surrounding the true spirits of the summoned gods, causing everything to be submerged in the surging water. When the water receded, the true spirits of the gods had been damaged quite a bit. A person frowned and said, "You pig demon, you've angered me." She waved her hand, and a giant purple fireball appeared above her head. They turned into thousands of small fires attacking Zhu Ganglai. He gritted his teeth, and used the trident to resist each blow. Loud explosions resounded continuously, smoke billowing, not knowing the situation inside. The Yinghua country audience cheered joyously. "That's a miracle, the ultimate move of the great god Amaterasu, the punishment of the gods, even if it's a true spirit. It can't unleash such terrifying power." From within the chaos, Zhu Ganglai was blasted out, rolling continuously for several long rounds on the field. The Huaxia people cried out in alarm. "Tianping Marshal has fallen. Is that a 3S level god? Even if it's a true spirit, it leaves people with no power to resist." The true spirits went to look at Zhu Ganglia's appearance lying on the ground. It stared at him for a long time. Then disparaged, "A mere pig demon, just a useless livestock." Bearing the pain, Zhu Ganglai trembled, propped himself up and said, "The treasure is piercing my heart." The true spirit didn't understand what he was saying. Zhu Ganglai raised his hand, still full of lightning, grabbing its neck. It didn't know why this was happening. It seemed that its divine power had been drained in an instant, completely losing the ability to release the light of the gods. Zhu Ganglai had returned to the form of Zhu Bajie. "Yes, I am a pig, but I won't allow myself to be killed." He angrily grabbed its neck, lifting it high, then slamming it hard on the ground, without any mercy. The Huaxia people were delighted to cheer. Tianping marshal is too awesome. First pretending to be weak in front of the enemy, then using thunder to strike back. Tianping marshal is truly both powerful and resourceful. No wonder Changshing awakened Tianping marshal. Their bravery is really the same. It's so satisfying. We have to beat the gods of Yinghua country like this to vent our anger. The true spirit was beaten to pieces, very unwilling. Before gradually disappearing completely, it said, "I remember your face." Now only Zhu Ganglai and the nine-tailed fox remained. He powerfully walked towards it with the trident. A painful slash into its body. Tamamo no Mei died. Zhu Bajie returned to human form. Lu Changshing worriedly ran over to call him. Zhu Ganglai told him not to come near him. Changshing obeyed him, and was shocked to see the marshal collapse. The Huaxia people worried about him. Why did Tianping marshal fall? What exactly happened to him? Zhu Ganglai had blood on his mouth. He must have been seriously injured. He really didn't want him to see his disheveled appearance. Zhu Ganglai collapsed, and he supported him. In Hengye's eyes, he had always been an unparalleled hero, with his head touching the sky and his feet on the ground. But now he was very weak. If he hadn't been so self-deprecating at that time, and had been a little braver, would the ending have been different? He looked into his face and said, "Promise me, if after I die, you must find my seventh brother and master, and bring them to my grave, saying that old pig wasn't a piece of junk." Lu Changshing replied painfully, "No, I want you to say it yourself." Zhu Ganglai had fainted, not answering him. "People of Huaxia country, respect my god." Seeing that the situation was not good, Li Xian was extremely worried. Quickly turned around and told everyone to offer food. People across the country watching the game also rushed to follow suit. They offered hundreds and thousands of delicious dishes to the true spirit of Zhu Bajie, or rather, the dying Tianping marshal in the pantheon. Not long after, the host announced the mythological arena battle. The fourth match, Huaxia country versus Yinghua country. Huaxia country wins. At this time, Lu Changxing still stood there like a statue, without expressing anything. The host continued, "Next is an exciting decisive battle. We absolutely can't imagine that Huaxia's willpower is so firm." The Huaxia people did not show joy at all. They all put their hands together and prayed for Tianping marshal, hoping that he can recover smoothly. "This match has cost us too much strength without any belief, but can fight to the end with the 3S level demon god of Yinghua country. What kind of willpower is this after all?" Lu Changshing shed tears. Then he suddenly heard Zhu Ganglai wake up and say to himself, "Men shouldn't shed tears easily. Old pig is not dead yet." He happily called him. Zhu Ganglai was helped up by Lu Changxing, and happily said, "We won, kid." In the audience area of Bangzi country, someone asked his teacher in a hesitant voice, "The gods of Huaxia country have the strength to defeat their opponents easily. But why are they always exhausting their origins, endangering their lives?" The teacher replied, "Huaxia's power of faith is too weak. These gods have no power of worship. So naturally that's the case. These two matches of Huaxia are just luck. In fact, they can't withstand a single blow." Tianping marshal instructed Changshing, "You must walk the next path yourself." Then, Zhu Ganglai smiled and said, "Old pig should also go find his dream lover." After speaking, he turned around and left decisively. He called him. But he told him not to say much. "Don't forget your promise." Lu Changxing was silent for a moment. Then respectfully put his hands together and bowed, sending off Tianping marshal. The Huaxia people were also stunned for a moment, then said in unison, "Sending off Tianping marshal." Xu Gonglie's image gradually disappeared. Li Xian made a decision, "Pass on my order. All books within the Huaxia border must record the gods Tianping marshal, Zhu Ganglai. We must let everyone know about his story. Don't let the gods of Huaxia be forgotten again." His subordinates listened to the order. He let the fire phoenix fly away to carry out the mission. The image of Zhu Ganglai fighting to his last breath made the city lord feel extremely guilty. He shed tears. We, the unfilial descendants, unexpectedly forgot about them all. Then he saw Dean Li Xian breathe a sigh of relief and say, "Fortunately, we have Changshing. Now, she is the greatest hope of our Huaxia." Lu Changshing stood in the courtyard, smiling and waving at them. Not far away, another battle ended. The precious sword was retracted. The outcome was decided. Jorigumo had failed miserably. Just as Miko Hanma was about to run away, she was stabbed to death. She only had time to say, "I didn't expect the gap between us to be so big," and collapsed. Liu Ruping didn't have time to pay attention to her. Now he only hoped that everything was still in time. The beautiful host appeared again. "Finally, we have reached the mythical arena battle, the final battle between Huaxia and Yinghua." Before the match, it was hard for any of us to imagine that the competition could reach this stage. We can see the unparalleled flexibility in the character of the Huaxia people, along with the great will of their gods. The final battle will determine the ownership of half the territory and population between the two countries. Next, please invite both sides to send out their representatives to fight. Just as Changshing was thinking of going on stage, an arm pressed down, stopping him. He looked at the person who had done so in surprise. It was the city lord. The city lord said that he had done a lot already, and that he should let him take action next. Changshing refused. He knew the hidden history of the Huaxia gods. He should be the one to go. The city lord firmly refused. Precisely because of that, the next match should be left to him. Now is the final battle. With your compatibility with the gods, you can't possibly deal with Yinghua's trump card. Huaxia still needs your growth. Don't forget, he was once a highly anticipated genius. His god is Changshan, Zhao Zilong. Just then, Liu Ruping's voice rang out, "Lao Bai, how about I go up?" The city lord smiled at him. "I thought you wouldn't be able to come today." Liu Ruping replied, "The rise and fall of the country, how could I dare to delay? It's just that the Yinghua spies are too cunning." He looked down at the stands. There isn't much time left. The countdown is only 30 seconds. Liu Ruping flew into the arena. He said loudly to his opponent, "Huaxia Liu Ruping is here. Who dares to fight?" A young man from Yinghua narrowed his eyes and looked at him from the stands. He stretched, then teleported to the arena to respond to the challenge. Yinghua, Takumi Yamada. The Yinghua people were extremely confident when they saw that the final battle would be fought by Takumi Yamada. It seems the victory of this match is decided. Why use a sledgehammer to crack a nut? But for the sword immortal of Huaxia to meet Yamada, he can be considered to have died without regret. The Huaxia people, on the other hand, were worried to the point of madness. Isn't he a godson? How could he have left the Saikyo? Saikyo has his sister and Amaterasu. I didn't expect the final battle to be fought by him. Changshing didn't understand why he attracted so much attention. Li Xian explained that he was the only godson of Yinghua in 400 years, and was known as the empire's unparalleled genius, a rank 2's divine favored one. This was an extremely formidable opponent. At his 18-year-old coming-of-age ceremony, he had killed Huaxia's third-ranked expert, Luo Jun, along with his natal god, the East Sea Dragon god. He recalled the battle in the East Sea 9 years ago. When the battle ended, Luo Jun fell. Yamada rode on Luo Jun's god to take its dragon scales. He found that these dragon scales were very strong and could be offered to his sister to make a longbow. Then he used a drawstring to strangle it, along with all its dragon scales. His methods were extremely cruel and decisive. That day, it rained heavily, and thunder rumbled. The dragon's corpse and blood floated on the sea. It was rumored that Yamada Takumi's god was one of Yinghua's 3 supreme noble gods. His compatibility reached over 80%, which was astonishing. Changshing clenched his fists and made up his mind, if the sword immortal loses, I will have to launch a divine battle with him. Yamada looked indifferently at his opponent, the sword immortal of Huaxia. I've heard of you for a long time. Liu Ruping drew his sword and said directly, "There's no need for many words between us. 10 years ago, because you killed the East Sea Dragon god, Huizhou suffered continuous droughts, with no harvest, and famine everywhere. Those were terrifying days that no one wanted to remember. All you could hear was crying. A child in his mother's arms was parched, wanting to drink water. But the helpless mother could only tell her child to persevere, just a little longer. Her tears fell uncontrollably, unable to do anything. The atmosphere between the two sides was extremely tense. Liu Ruping declared, Today, you must die. Yamada laughed at this pain. In fact, you should feel honored. Honored to become the weapon of the divine favored one of the great goddess Amaterasu. Its tendons and bones will once again radiate glory in my sister's hands. As for those starving people, wait until the day they surrender to Yinghua. They will surely feel endless glory. The Huaxia people were indignant. How arrogant! For his own selfish desires, he can cause other countries to fall into famine? What a despicable and shameless nation! In Changshing's opinion, his arrogance and contempt were revealed in his words, "Teacher is right. A weak country has no standing in diplomacy, so we must beat them until they feel the pain, beat them until they put aside their contempt, beat them until they are completely convinced." The players on both sides have been confirmed. Here is information about the participating players. Yamada is a rank 3S divine favored one, awakening the rank 3S god Susanoo. Liu Ruping is a rank S divine favored one, awakening the rank 2S god Li Bai. The king of the Tianying Empire had made plans. Inform those below that after Huaxia is defeated, declare war on them as planned. We must seize the flesh and blood of the defeated country so that the flag of the Tianying Empire can be spread across the globe. The people of Bangzi were no exception. After the divine war ends, prepared to start a war with Huaxia at any time. Many of our country's treasures were lost in Huaxia. After they are defeated, we must make Huaxia return them all. The people of Tianzhu were also ready to seize. I didn't expect that Yinghua's participant would be Yamada. With the power of the martial god Susanoo, Huaxia cannot withstand a single blow. Inform Yubilai, don't miss the opportunity. We must make Huaxia become an object of Shiva. Yamada had begun to choose the god to send out. As expected, he chose Susanoo. The Yinghua people were overjoyed, as expected of Yamada. This time, he will surely strip Huaxia of its last underpants and crush the gods of Huaxia. Li Xian realized that this battle would be extremely difficult. Liu Ruping successfully summoned Li Bai to the stage. The host announced, the players on both sides have successfully summoned their gods. The final battle between Huaxia and Yinghua officially begins. Li Bai picked up the wine jug, opened the lid, and took a sip. Then he smacked his lips, feeling refreshed. He looked up at the sky thoughtfully. It's a pity that with a pot of good wine beside the flowers, I drink alone without intimacy. I wonder where Gao Shi, Haoran, and Qingfu are. My old friends, are they deep in the mud, but still looking up at the stars with me? Yamada snorted coldly, you're in the middle of a battle, and you still have the mood to look at the stars. He raised his hand, and streaks of purple lightning flashed continuously. Liu Ruping watched vigilantly. As soon as the sword flew over, he quickly dodged to the side. Yamada frowned and said, are the gods of Huaxia also disrespectful? Although he dodged the attack, Liu Ruping was still seriously injured. Blood flowed continuously, and his left arm was severed. On the side, Susanoo fought with Li Bai. One side attacked, and the other dodged. Back and forth, they exchanged dozens of blows. Liu Ruping clutched his injured arm. This sword was as unstoppable as splitting bamboo, but when it was about to touch me, it was silent. The damage it caused is truly terrifying. The people of Huaxia panicked. With just this one sword, even the sword immortal of Huaxia can't resist the godson of Yinghua. The sword immortal has spent his life killing countless foreign enemies. We haven't lost yet. Liu Changshing frowned, extremely angry. Liu Ruping did not give up. He proudly stood up again. Dao Gui Yuan Shi Wu Yan Ning, Mu Lin Chu Ho Zhong Xingxin. He raised his hand, and a series of golden lightning flashed. The sword immortal used magic to create a form. A golden artificial sword was created. This was the sword immortal's Daogua. Daogua was formless. His Daogua was a sword. Liu Changxing asked Li Xian, what is Daogua? He said, when every divine favored one cultivates to a certain level, they will possess a similar type of origin. Daogua, Shenying, and Jinan are all origins of Huaxia divine favored ones. When the origin appears, it is either life or death. Liu Changxing was very worried when he heard this, sword immortal, he's risking his life. Yamada asked if Liu Ruping was crazy to easily summon his origin like this, enhancing his divinity. Even if he won, he wouldn't live much longer. Liu Ruping did not regret it. Fighting with foreign races outside the borders for decades, countless households used bones as swords, and the sword heart became Daogua. It's a little regrettable to destroy it today. What he was holding in his hand was not just an ordinary Daogua, but hundreds, thousands, of lives of the people and fallen soldiers. He carried a heavy responsibility. Yamada was puzzled, then why does he dare to do it? Liu Ruping's Daogua is Jian Feng Chu Xiao, and it also protects the lights of thousands of homes. Unlike you people, who were born with a golden spoon in your mouths, how can you understand? Yamada opened his mouth but said nothing. Liu Ruping spun the sword in his hand. The sword is here. Behind the people of Huaxia, thousands of swords also moved on their own, heading towards Liu Ruping. His heart fruit merged with the real sword. Besides that, thousands of swords had been summoned, waiting behind him. Come and fight. On the side of the gods fighting, Li Bai took another sip of wine. Susanoo was the first to meet someone who called the gods Daoshan, and could be so unrestrained in front of it. Li Bai raised his chin. How can I bow my head and bend myself before the powerful? Susanoo was silent. Turning to Liu Ruping, he flew to attack Yamada. Yamada was also worried. If this sword falls, he might really die. Liu Ruping decisively swung his sword, and a series of other swords also slashed down. Yamada spread his legs wide, awkwardly leaning over to dodge. Seeing that the situation behind him was not very good, Susanoo thought it should take action. It raised its right hand, creating a small aurora cluster, heavenly might domain. The aurora turned into dangerous purple lightning bolts, pulling to strike Li Bai. Li Bai opened his mouth and smiled, then swung his sword to create a giant eagle. Yishir ta dong feng qi, fu yao ji shang jiu wan li. Suddenly, a shield protected himself. Susanoo exclaimed, interesting. This time, it raised its left hand. A sword appeared in its hand, and its whole body glowed, dragging a series of dangerous purple lightning. It said coldly, heavenly punishment has arrived. Susanoo pointed the tip of its sword at Li Bai. The shield shattered, and the lightning struck him. Li Bai was forced to take the blow. The Huaxia people were very worried. The sword immortal is undergoing tribulation. Oh heavens, what should we do? Li Bai shouted in pain. It seemed that he could not resist for much longer. The leaders of the countries saw this and began to implement their plans. The leader of Tianzhu spoke first. Now that victory and defeat have been decided, we need to discuss the division of Huaxia's territory. He conjured a simulated map. As the winning country, Yinghua should be divided half of Huaxia's territory and population. Emperor Tokugawa nodded in agreement. And the requirement of our Tianzhu is that based on Huaxia's defeat, we can receive 1/3 of Huaxia's territory and population. The leader of Bangzi did not agree. On what basis can you Tianzhu occupy most of the remaining territory? And the part that we can share is not even half of yours. He felt it was unfair. The leader of Tianzhu was silent, only twirling his fingers. Then he coldly slapped the leader of Bangzi in the face, causing him to fall. He sneered, on what basis? After this war ends, do you want the light of Shiva to shine throughout Changshing? The leader of Bangzi, holding his swollen face, reluctantly accepted. We have no objections. Returning to the battle, the situation between Liu Ruping and Yamada was still very tense. The two swords clashed. The equal power between the two sides forced both to retreat. Although he had lost an arm, Liu Ruping was not at a disadvantage. Yamada realized that Liu Ruping's spirit was united with the sword, which was indeed unexpectedly sharp, too strong. Spiritual unity, his entire aura and spirit are at their peak. This state is almost perfect, able to explode and unleash power far beyond those at the S level, like an omnipotent god. Only when his mind shows a flaw will Yamada have a chance to counterattack. He began to use words to create chaos. If you explode your origin now, you won't be able to maintain it for long. Waiting for the flame to burn out, you'll just be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. I'll give you one last chance. Join Yinghua, and you'll have power and wealth equal to mine. Yinghua will treat you as a national scholar, sparing no effort to restore your origin. Liu Ruping muttered his words, treated as a national scholar? Yamada affirmed, that's definitely not empty talk. The sword immortal continued to rush forward with his sword. Yamada raised his sword in surprise to block. The sword was truly powerful, and he was knocked backward. Liu Ruping said calmly, but I see the fear in your eyes. He still pretended to the end. Look, victory and defeat are about to be decided. Above, Li Bai was bound by lightning, unable to escape. The lightning continuously entered his body, causing him pain that made him want to collapse. He tried to remind himself not to fall asleep. Susanoo raised an eyebrow and watched. Emperor Tokugawa also exclaimed, the gods of Huaxia are indeed tenacious, able to endure for so long under the punishment of the strongest martial god in the sky. However, there seems to be heartbreaking pain in his body, and now he can only wait for death to approach. Sticking his sword into the ground, Yamada pretended to be righteous and advised, The majestic light of the gods shines on all things. Susanoo no Mikoto, the coldest execution god of Takamigara. Your god cannot escape at all. You should let go of your sword, only waiting for death to come. Liu Ruping maintained his point of view. Gods are not greedy, so why can't they tolerate a little disrespect towards themselves? Gods are not evil, so why must they hold the fate of all living beings in their hands? What majesty do the gods have? The tragic deaths of the Huaxia soldiers and the widespread famine in Huaxia. They are like the scenes of yesterday, clear before my eyes. I am free, who can put on airs here? Liu Changshing could not wait any longer. He shouted to Liu Ruping, when life is successful, enjoy it to the fullest. Don't let the golden cup be empty under the moon. The people of Huaxia also said the same thing as him. These words were repeated continuously, passing into Li Bai's ears. When life is successful, this poem truly touched his heart. It felt like it had merged with him. Li Bai sipped the precious drops of wine in the jug. Susanoo watched him warily. Soon after, Li Bai erected a barrier, breaking free from his restraints. The Yinghua audience was stunned. How is this possible? He can escape the restraints of the high heaven martial god? No one has ever escaped the punishment of Susanoo no Mikoto. Susanoo touched the sword behind him. 10,000 years, besides the years struggling for my childhood, I have never drawn this sword. The boundless darkness, the small belief of mankind has saved that naive god. Holding the sword in his hand, Susanoo laughed madly and rushed over. Come and admire my craftsmanship, you heretic. The tip of the sword carried a huge lightning force, piercing through Li Bai's barrier. Li Bai used his sword to block the blow. Recorded from ancient times, Susanoo used the 10-grip sword, defeating the 8-headed monster Yamada no Orochi. Great harmony of sword Tao, craftsmanship born from my own hands. He furrowed his brow. I will use this sword to slash all the evil gods of Takamigara, he roared madly. The enemy was too strong, and Li Bai felt he could not resist. How could he possibly win? The Yinghua people became even more arrogant. The gods of Huaxia are nothing more than arrows at the end of their flight. As expected, the martial god Susanoo has never disappointed us. Susanoo mocked Li Bai. Your swordsmanship before my craftsmanship is no different from a toddler learning to walk. Why not choose death quickly? On this side, Yamada also said arrogantly to Liu Ruping, I have blocked your strongest killer move, but I still can't break my shell. I possess armor cast from lightning and the body of a martial god, and the power you raised by consuming your origin won't last long. Liu Ruping still gritted his teeth and persevered to the end. If one sword isn't enough, then another. If 1,000 swords aren't enough, then 10,000 swords. Even if the road ahead is difficult, I will move forward. He rushed forward to fight again. The side of Li Bai was no less tense. Susanoo continuously pressured, constantly attacking. Heretic, my craftsmanship echoes throughout all of Takamigara. Before my sword, you dare to wield your sword? Li Bai raised the wine jug, wanting to drink to forget his sorrows. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to drink much. When Susanoo was about to attack, he slammed 2 demon-like blades into the ground. Seeing movement above his head, he looked up in surprise. Li Bai was floating in the air on an artificial lotus flower. Then hundreds, thousands of jade-green swords flew towards Susanoo. This sword had a nice name, called Qinglian's Sword Song. Susanoo quickly dodged, then used a myriad of heavenly thunders to create a perfect barrier for himself. The Huaxia audience watching the match were all worried. They had just thought there was a chance to turn the tables, but who knew it would collapse so easily as soon as they touched it? Could it be that the god of Yinghua Kingdom was truly invincible? Sword Immortal was indeed very strong, but Susanoo was the strongest martial god of Yinghua. The situation was critical. According to records, Sword Immortal's strongest move, the Qinglian Sword Song, had been activated. Next, I'm afraid it won't be able to continue. Hearing Li Xian say this, Liu Changshing's brow furrowed. On the arena floor, Susanoo rushed over and praised Li Bai's moves as truly amazing. If your opponent wasn't me, I'm afraid Yinghua Kingdom would have already failed. He smiled savagely. Unfortunately, you are facing me, the one who carries the hope of the world. I fight for humanity. The light emitted from his sword was so dazzling that Li Bai had to shield his eyes. Li Bai retreated. You really fight for humanity? He sneered, but your aura is full of brutality and slaughter. Susanoo was very uncomfortable upon hearing this. What are you talking about? Li Bai criticized that his words were just his way of covering up his true nature. Susanoo was angered and rushed forward in a frenzy. Direct confrontation with Li Bai, the impact of the two sides' power caused a series of loud explosions in the air. Li Bai's sword had shattered. The people of Huaxia were even more worried. You've tried your best. Is it impossible to change this outcome after all? Li Bai was not lightly injured. His face was stained with some blood. The road is really difficult. He slumped down in frustration. I have never fallen under the wind and moon of Chang'an City. Am I going to die in the hands of a foreign god today? Lu Changshing felt that this was not enough. He had to do something. He turned around and said to the others, "Everyone, open your books. There are some famous poems that I hope everyone can read with me. Let's offer them to Sword Immortal together." "No, it's Poet Immortal Li Bai." Everyone hurriedly opened their books. Lu Changxing read aloud for everyone to shout together. Page 5, Poem 3, laughing, "I step out, am I not an ordinary person?" Turn to page 7. There will be times when the wind breaks the waves. I will set my sails and cross the sea, leaving no trace in the city. 10 steps to kill one person. These poems continuously entered Li Bai's ears, giving him energy. I have clearly never heard these poems, but it's as if they flow in my blood. Across thousands of years, give me back my strength. Li Bai picked up the broken sword, his eyes firm. Susanoo didn't expect him to be able to continue fighting. Carrying the faith of the Huaxia people, Li Bai bravely rushed forward with his sword. His sword seemed to come alive again, extending and slashing across Susanoo's face. Half of Susanoo's face was burned. He went crazy, one eye bloodshot with anger. How is this possible? Insect, you have completely angered me. Susanoo spread his legs apart, holding 2 swords to either side, just waiting to rush forward. The people of Yinghua Kingdom whispered, "Why does the martial god possess the phenomena of thunder and lightning? The body below hides a rotten and dark aura. He has lost his former holiness and arrogance. All that can be felt inside his body is the desire to kill." What exactly did the foreign god of Huaxia do to Susanoo's life? Lu Changxing stopped reading. He put his hands in his pockets and said, "From Yamada to Kumi's attitude of treating human lives like grass, I can feel it. Susanoo's nature is brutal and bloodthirsty. You're not wrong. He's been like this since ancient times. He only serves those with power and influence. It is imperative to ensure that there are no errors in this blood furnace. The lords are waiting to be nourished. Those kneeling, waiting to be killed, asked painfully, "What did we do wrong?" They didn't do anything wrong. It's just that those above like to bully the weak, and Susanoo is the one who carries out their orders. He acts coldly and decisively, not giving anyone a chance to survive." Lu Changxing believed that the personality of the god's devotee would be inadvertently influenced by the personality of the god. After all, human nature is divine nature. Susanoo stood up, his body filled with murderous intent, his eyes gloomy and terrifying. "Congratulations, you are about to die in the most cruel and hopeless darkness." He smiled wickedly, "Die in the rotten darkness." Susanoo adopted an attacking stance again, black gas spreading from his body throughout the mythical arena, trapping Li Bai inside. Seeing this from the outside, Changshing slammed his hand on the table in anger. After falling into darkness, all of his abilities cannot be clearly known. Moreover, he becomes more elusive and difficult to deal with. The city lord next to him was also at a loss. "I'm also helpless about this." Inside the arena, Li Bai continuously jumped away to avoid the dangerous black smoke. They kept chasing Li Bai, as if trying to swallow him whole. Just when he wasn't paying attention, the black gas got very close. His whole body was shrouded in the deadly black smoke, his life or death unknown. Dean Li Xian was extremely distraught at the sight and fell backward, helplessly calling out, "Sword Immortal." The city lord quickly supported him, Dean Li. After a while, the black gas dissipated. There was a strange circle surrounding Li Bai. When the circle disappeared, Li Bai had aged. He became old and frail, his hair white, his face full of wrinkles, looking extremely weak. The audience watching the match found it very strange. Sword Immortal was full of spirit. How did he suddenly turn into an old man with white hair? What kind of terrifying power is this? To be able to control the power of time? Liu Ruping next to him also gritted his teeth and said, Susanoo seems to have become even more terrifying after falling into darkness. In an extremely critical situation, Liu Changshing still refused to give up. He thought there was still a chance to turn the tide. Everyone knows Li Bai's sword intent is unparalleled. But they don't know that in the brilliant and magnificent flow of Huaxia history, Li Bai is also the most dazzling poet immortal. He has great faith in him. On the arena floor, Li Bai staggered to his feet. The rotten black gas around him had not disappeared, continuously corroding his body. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Susanoo took his two swords and jumped out to finish off Li Bai. With a bang, a loud explosion rang out, the stone floor shattered, and the earth and rocks were churned up. Li Bai was thrown out. Susanoo curled his lips into a contemptuous smile. When I catch you, I will crush every bone in your body, so that your god will be trampled by the people of Manhwa Kingdom. His body was almost out of strength, but Li Bai still struggled to stand up. Are we really so powerless? Liu Changshing, who was watching from the outside, was also very uncomfortable. It can't continue like this. There are poems that have passed in the flow of history. This time, let me bear it all. He had a strong belief, believing that Huaxia civilization had begun to rise. He read other poems aloud. Life is a sojourn, death is a return. Heaven and earth are but an inn, sharing the sorrows of ancient dust. Everyone was in an uproar, wondering why he was suddenly reciting poetry. Another person who understood his intention explained, he is bestowing Sword Immortal with a new divine nature. From Sword Immortal's previous performances, it can be seen that these poems bring him new divine power. After reciting these poems, he also coughed up blood. Li Xian tried to persuade him not to show off anymore, but Liu Changxing wouldn't listen. Time waits for no one. Enduring the pain, he continued to shout, life is a sojourn, death is a return. Heaven and earth are but an inn, sharing the sorrows of ancient dust. These poems entered the ears of Li Bai, who was lying on the ground. He murmured these poems. Propping his sword on the floor, he motivated himself. Before the flow of time, what can the difficulties and setbacks in life be considered? On the other side, Changshing continued to shout other poems. Heaven gave me talent, it must be useful. 1,000 gold spent, it will return. Remembering these poems, Li Bai stood up, continuously pouring wine into his mouth. The good wine has been drunk, and the poems have been heard. He praised silently in his heart. He had more strength to rush like a gust of wind. With each step he took, a blooming lotus flower was formed. This was the drunken forest sun and moon technique. Li Bai's sword had recovered to its original state, flashing with hopeful green lights. With each sword slash, Susanoo's rotten black gas was blown away a little more. He gnashed his teeth unwillingly. How is this possible? A foreign god, to be able to grasp the power of time. On the side, the fierce battle stopped, both sides were exhausted. Liu Ruping tried to stand firm with the sword. Yamada, who was lying on the ground, was no better off. But he was very happy because he was benefiting. In the end I won. Someone who has burned his Tao fruit like you, I'm afraid you are so weak that even a new god can easily defeat you. He observed Liu Ruping's arm twitching slightly. He vigilantly stood up, his chi is as weak as a thread, but... He glanced at the two gods fighting on the other side. The outcome was about to be revealed. Having fought to this extent, martial god Susanoo had to admit that Li Bai was the most tenacious opponent he had ever encountered since his birth. His wicked smile remained unchanged. But even if I bear sin, stained with sin, I will not be ashamed. After all, that is the path I have chosen. And precisely to light up that moment, I was born in this world. As he finished speaking, a series of dangerous purple lightning bolts appeared. His injured eye flashed, he laughed eerily. God loves the world. The people of Manhwa Kingdom were full of confidence again. The shortest but most valiant thunder in the world, the lightning in this moment is doing its best to protect. So on what basis should it be doubted? The darkness on the martial god's face, witnessing you bring hope, passing through countless destructions. Even deep in the mud, you still love the world to the extreme. Emperor Tokugawa happily noticed that the national power of Manhwa Kingdom was being greatly enhanced. This can provide more faith power to the gods. On the mythical arena, martial god Susanoo continuously attacked. Li Bai's sword could not withstand it, and shattered. His barrier had also reached its limit. When the barrier expired, Li Bai was sent flying away. Unexpectedly, There are so many things hidden under his brutality. But in the new form, his divine power has even become several times stronger than before. Li Bai looked up to see Susanoo raising a sword, condensing the power of lightning. Now he couldn't even stand up. How could he escape? In a critical situation, Liu Changshing bit his teeth and endured the pain. The price to pay for bestowing divine nature on the gods is the origin. In a short time, he bestowed new divine nature on several gods. Now, the long-term lack of origin has caused serious damage to his body. Even during the prosperous Tang dynasty, when countless literati and poets appeared, poet immortal Li Bai could still occupy the top spot, revered by the world as an immortal. After 1,000 years, no one can overshadow his talent. His strength is not just that. It's just, can he still pay the price to bestow divine nature? Displaying the spirit of the Huaxia people, even though he was exhausted, Li Bai still tried to stand up to avoid Susanoo's dangerous lightning strike. After being not far from the lightning, he used the ultimate technique, Qinglian-1's sword, erecting a purple barrier to protect himself, but it seemed it wouldn't last long. The Huaxia kingdom audience gradually fell into despair. Is it all in vain after all? Liu Changshing alone still did not give up. For victory, you must not regret any price. However, what poem can awaken the divine nature of poet immortal Li Bai? On the arena floor, Li Bai was lying flat on the ground. He was so powerless, could it still be impossible? He tried to reach for his wine pot. Old brother, go to the final journey with me. At this time, Liu Changshing tried to recall hundreds of Li Bai's famous poems in his mind, like sifting for gold. Before my bed, the bright moon shines, I suspect it is frost on the ground. Trying to find the most effective poem. Scrolling to the poem in Jiangshangyin, Liu Changshing seemed to find hope again. It's this one. Compared to other poems, even in the past life when the culture was not interrupted, few people knew this poem. This poem was written by Li Bai because he felt the reality of his own blocked life path. I hope Li Bai can find himself again from it. It can definitely awaken Li Bai's poet immortal divine nature. Below the arena, Li Bai trembled and tried to stand up, determined not to give up. Liu Changshing immediately read this poem aloud. My brush stirs the Milky Way to scoop up the dipper. When complete, I will laugh and roam the Haoyang continent. Li Bai, who was jumping towards Susanoo, stopped when he heard these poems. I want to write poems that surpass all poets, ancient and modern. When he turned around, he saw a young man, the person holding a pen in his hand, and heard everyone passionately discussing his poem. The vast, distant image merges with the blue sky. Only the long river flows to the horizon. This young man, whose reputation is not yet known, has such amazing poetic talent. The other person kept sighing. Young people are truly terrifying. The fall of the pen startles the wind and rain. The poem causes ghosts and gods to cry. Liu Changshing continued to read the poem. Life should be enjoyed to the fullest. Do not let the golden cup be empty before the moon. The meaning of the poem vividly appeared before Li Bai's eyes. He felt the clear meaning of each and every word. Liu Changshing anxiously waited for the result. Li Bai no longer trembled. He finally understood what he needed to do. Only today do I know that I am who I am. His sword had been revived. What Changshing had done had worked. This sword was Li Bai's youthful spirit, like a poet immortal. He now seemed to have been resurrected to his 20s, able to firmly hold the sword and raise it, using all his strength to cast a spell to stab the sword through Susanoo. Susanoo did not expect to be killed like this. He had been defeated by someone he had originally looked down on. Li Bai conveyed his final words to him. You also don't need to carry this heavy body and walk anymore. Be calm for a while. Susanoo's body gradually dissipated. Someone read out those poems that were both familiar and unfamiliar to Li Bai. The sound of apes' cries incessantly from both banks. The light boat has already passed 10,000 mountains. Yamada did not expect Susanoo to die. So what if the gods are defeated? There was still someone fighting in the arena. He held his sword and jumped up, intending to chop off Liu Ruping's head. Liu Ruping lowered his head in silence, then resolutely held the broken sword and stabbed it into Yamada's stomach. He went to see his ancestors on the spot. The result of the match was set, and the people of Yinghua Kingdom became afraid. How is this possible? They clearly tried their best, but Huaxia, weakened by the interruption of civilization, actually reversed the situation? What should we do? The Huaxia people cheered happily. We really did it. Reversing the situation from 2 to 3 to 3 to 2, we have created a miraculous comeback. Lu Changshing, who was exhausted, was supported by his friends. Everyone chanted in unison, Lord Liu, the god cannot be lost. Lord Liu, forever the god. Huaxia will win. At this time, Zhou Hao told everyone to look down quickly. Sword Immortal had changed. The soul of poet immortal Li Bai gathered towards Liu Ruping. Liu Ruping seemed to be resurrected once again, his body full of vitality and strength. The great god had bestowed him with a new power. Li Bai looked at that god. Now Li Bai's level had been increased, becoming a 3S level god, and Liu Ruping also became a 2S level god devotee. After a long time, Liu Ruping also opened his eyes. He had been reborn through nirvana, breaking and then establishing. Li Xian was extremely happy. Sword Immortal has recreated a completely new Dao fruit. Both the god level and the personal level have been improved. The city lord asked curiously, what is the new Dao fruit? Li Xian explained that this was the double excellence of poetry and sword. The city lord looked towards Liu Changxing. He really didn't expect that Changshing could bring them so many surprises. Li Bai, who had become younger, read out a few poems. The youth of Wuling, gold is the market, silver saddles and white horses ride the spring wind. This poem was like a miracle shining on Liu Ruping. His hand, which had been chopped off, was now gradually growing back. He looked at this result in astonishment. Then he smiled and looked up at the viewing platform, clasping his hands to express his gratitude to Liu Changxing. He also smiled at him. The screen recorded the scores of the matches. The host announced the first qualifying round of this mythical arena competition, Huaxia Kingdom vs Yinghua Kingdom. Score 3-2, Huaxia Kingdom wins. Congratulations to Huaxia Kingdom, in despair, reversing the situation from 2 to 3, winning the final victory. Next, please invite the winning country, Huaxia Kingdom, and MVP Liu Changxing to the stage to receive your spoils. He pointed to himself in surprise. Everyone cheered him on. Go ahead, Lord Liu. No one is more worthy than you to represent Huaxia at this moment. Lord Liu, go ahead, this is the moment to enjoy the glory of the victor. Liu Changxing had to go on stage. Two options appeared on the screen. One was to take away half of the population and national fortune of Yinghua Kingdom, and the other was to take away half of the territory and national fortune of Yinghua Kingdom. Changxing carefully thought, Huaxia is a large country. The thing we lack most is talent. Compared to population, territorial area can obviously bring more resources. He held up the number 2 to the host. Choose the second option. Take away half of the territory and national fortune of Yinghua Kingdom. She happily agreed. Liu Changxing looked up at the sky. An animal slowly walked over. It was a mighty red dragon. It went in front of the national fortune map. Opening its mouth, it took a portion of the territory of Yinghua Kingdom. The place it just took away was Osaka Prefecture. The people here were falling into fear. Emperor Tokugawa looked at the map that had just lost half of its territory and roared regretfully, "Lost, all lost. Idiots!" He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Not long after, he fainted. The servants hurriedly called people to save him. The host continued her work. Latest news: after merging with the national power of Yinghua Kingdom, the world ranking of Huaxia Kingdom has jumped from 32nd to 4th. Currently, Huaxia officially occupies a position in the top 10. The first qualifying round of this mythical arena competition has ended. I am your host, Aphrodite. Welcome to join us next time. The leaders of various countries began to implement plans to invade territory. Rome took the lead in proposing to open the mythical arena with Yinghua Kingdom. Countries such as Tianzhu, Greece, and the United States also proposed to open the mythical arena with Yinghua Kingdom. The city lord did not understand why information about 4 countries wanting to challenge Yinghua Kingdom appeared in the arena. Didn't Yinghua Kingdom have cooperative relationships with them before? Changshing explained that this was betrayal when there was no longer value to be exploited. Changshing's character information panel had now changed, and the compatibility with the destiny god Pangu had increased to 10%. Summoning different gods can increase the compatibility with the gods. However, what is more important is to increase the national fortune. After Huaxia took over half of the territory of Yinghua Kingdom, he clearly felt the increased compatibility with the destiny god in his body. Perhaps summoning Pangu on the mythical arena was not a distant thing. Now he felt more confident. As for the divine attribute technique, perhaps it was received from summoning the gods and giving the gods divine attribute. It is possible to enhance the divine attribute through it. He remembered that before disappearing, Qin Shi Huang had said he had a wish. That was to wish for all living beings under heaven. He disappeared before he could finish speaking. Changshing promised in his heart, Xingji, rest assured, I will definitely bring you back. When the compatibility with the destiny body reaches 10%, it will be possible to activate the destiny cultivation technique. Pangu the Great Zun's body is immortal, his divine soul indestructible. The 9 revolutions mysterious technique can also eliminate all divine soul damage. Previously, all the damage caused by the divine nature had been restored to its original state. He clenched his fists. In the future, it may be possible to bestow divine nature on many gods who have fallen into anonymity due to historical interruptions. There is no need to worry about divine soul damage caused by bestowing divine nature anymore. In Shijing, Avicii Hell, the emaciated monsters, starved for a long time, frantically roared in their cages. When they tried to escape by touching the cage, their bodies would dissipate. The hellfire still burned faintly. The owner of Avicii Hell, Yama, was chained up at this time. A girl stood in front of him. Her name was Tian Zhao. She was listening to her subordinate's report on the battle on the mythical arena. You said that just this one person reversed the unfavorable situation of Huaxia in the arena? The person affirmed that was correct. Tian Zhao turned around and called the person's name, Hai. She curled her lips into a meaningful smile. Interesting. The other person was very anxious. Currently, the allied countries of Manhwa, after Huaxia won, have all turned their backs one after another, starting war with Manhwa Kingdom. His Majesty the Emperor is seriously ill, waiting for the great god Amaterasu to make a decision. He was annoyed, a bunch of people who forget righteousness when they see profit, petty. She raised her hand, a stream of black gas appeared from her palm, however. I have more important things to do, so I will skip the next round and wait for me to come and settle the score. This mysterious black energy was injected into the body of the heavenly devil. You finally couldn't resist, my loved one, or my external avatar. The eyes of the soulless devil were expressionless. HC still looked at him infatuatedly, caressing his face. Have you never desired me? She laughed painfully. Everything is just fate. The servant trembled even more. Why is the great god Tian Zhao so sacred at this moment, like the sun rising high? She didn't turn her head back. She strode forward, surrounded by lightning flashes. Only then did that person finish speaking, but it was as gloomy as hell. Back at the mythical arena, the organizing committee received the latest news. The Manhwa Kingdom has chosen to forfeit the next battle of the gods. To achieve this, they must pay the price of ceding Kyoto City. The host raised one finger. The Manhwa Kingdom has now forfeited twice in the mythical games, leaving one more forfeit. She pointed to the map. The ceded city will be taken over by the winning nation of the previous match. The people of Kyoto could only watch as their city belonged to another country. The Huaxia people were quite surprised. Unexpectedly, there is an unexpected joy. I wonder how the compatriots of the Huaxia kingdom who are lost in other countries are living. Li Xian clearly realized that this was the price of failure. Labeled as slaves, the people will forever lose their divinity, and then become consumables for the lives of other countries, eventually dying in foreign lands. Lu Changshing asked him, have we ever forfeited? Li Xian replied, due to the disparity in strength, we have forfeited 3 times, dividing 3 cities among them. Since then, the Huaxia kingdom has no longer had the opportunity to forfeit. This time is unavoidable. Changshing was silent in thought. How are the compatriots contacted outside currently living? On the spectator stand of the Tianzhu kingdom, one large and one small were talking to each other. Manhwa would rather sacrifice a part to the Huaxia kingdom than confront them directly. This time, the Manhwa kingdom suffered heavy losses. How dare they continue the war? The taller one asked. Then, in the next round, who will we choose to fight? The smaller one replied, Roma and Greece have long occupied the top 2 positions, while other allied nations are ambitious. If we hastily choose a small country, it may be difficult to improve national strength in the short term. He made a decision. Then there is only the option of choosing Huaxia. The tall one was quite cautious, however. In this battle of the gods, Huaxia completely defeated the Manhwa kingdom. Moreover, A genius like Liu Changshing has emerged. Now he has become someone everyone must be wary of. Huaxia has risen to 9th place in the world. The smaller one added, the world says Huaxia is weak, but in reality, the gods of Huaxia are no weaker than the gods of any country in the world. The tall one was surprised. I have never heard of such a secret. Then why did we choose such a tough bone to gnaw on this time? The smaller one considered very carefully. No matter how strong the origin of the Huaxia gods is, their divinity has been forgotten in a battle from 10,000 years ago. This is also the reason why the Huaxia gods are weak, and it is not simply the interruption of the Huaxia civilization that the world knows. A cunning look appeared on his face, completely different from his innocent appearance just now. Due to being restricted by insufficient divinity, the Huaxia gods can only exert their power at the level of a divine general at most. As for the level of a divine king, it is almost an invincible existence in Huaxia. The tall one happily said upon hearing this, then wouldn't we have victory firmly in our hands? After all, our number of divine king levels is superior to Huaxia's. Currently, what we need is to defeat Huaxia, gradually erode them, and take them over. The small one's eyes turned red, and he clenched his fists, to make the Huaxia gods who have exhausted their divinity dependent on Buddha, to become tools to serve us. The tall one thought to himself, it is said that the Holy Sun is without greed or desire. At this moment, his heart is full of ambition for invasion and possession. The beautiful host bowed and looked at the screen. Due to the Yinghua kingdom's forfeit, the Yinghua kingdom's initial opponent, the Tianzhu kingdom, needs to change opponents. Next, the country that needs to face the Tianzhu kingdom is. The Huaxia people secretly prayed it wasn't them. Tianzhu is one of the 3 great ancient civilizations, with extremely strong strength. But unfortunately, the country called out was the Huaxia kingdom. The Huaxia people were frustrated and sad, really unlucky. Why is it us? First encountering wolves, then encountering fierce tigers. The female host continued, thank you everyone for watching. The first round of the mythical games has ended. The next group stage will begin next Monday. The audience dispersed one after another, heading home. Changshing stood still, not knowing what he was thinking. In the Huaxia Kingdom's Combat Command Center, everyone was discussing fervently. Changshing frowned and recalled the scene of the people of Kyoto being deprived of their territory. He asked Liu Ruping sitting opposite him, General, can you tell me, what were the 3 cities ceded by the Huaxia Kingdom respectively? He crossed his arms and looked at him. Then he replied, the lands ceded by the Huaxia Kingdom are respectively, Izhou, Island Port, and Jingyu. Among them, Izhou has the most abundant area, resources, and population, and was the first area to be ceded. Since the cession of Izhou, 5 battles of the gods and more than 50 years have passed. Liu Changshing inquired, have we not tried to recover the lost lands? He lowered his head in frustration. With the strength of Huaxia in the past, it was already an all-out effort to avoid being invaded by foreign enemies. There was absolutely no surplus power to recover. The lost lands? Changshing was surprised, so that's how it is. He made up his mind, if our fathers and grandfathers no longer have surplus power, then Huaxia will begin to recover its land from today. He said to the general in a loud voice, I want information on all the gods currently leading troops in Huaxia. Liu Ruping speculated, could it be that you plan to rely on these gods leading the troops to recover the lost lands? Do you know, this will be very difficult. At least in Huaxia, no one has ever accomplished this. He was very determined, clenching his fist. I can't just stand by and watch my compatriots continue to be tortured and enslaved by other countries. Liu Ruping happily expressed that he believed in him. The two went to the archives room, where Changshing was shown a series of lists of gods. It turned out that they were all steadfast and brave human gods from their previous lives. Xiangwang, famous in his previous life, was only a B-level god. He explained to him, the human gods of Huaxia are weak. Awakening demon gods has a much higher success rate and strength. Therefore, the number of gods leading troops in Yanjing is not that many. He raised his hand and said he chose these 3 gods. Liu Ruping stroked his chin in thought. Bai Qi and Neza both have outstanding strength among the gods. As for this Xiangwang, is he a little weaker? Without changing his decision, after choosing the generals, Changshing went out to help everyone. He used his own power to enhance the life force of the gods. The young man was delighted to see that his compatibility with Xiang Yu had reached 90%. Li Xian was stunned. In just a moment, he has advanced from a C-level divine envoy to a 2S-level divine envoy. He was worried about his health. Changshing, you have bestowed too much divinity on this general. The price to pay is probably difficult to bear. Don't push yourself, you have contributed too much to Huaxia already. Black smoke rose from Liu Changshing's head. He almost suffered a qi deviation. He tried to grit his teeth and endure it, flexibly using the 9 revolutions mysterious technique. Soon after, this method was effective, and the black smoke gradually dissipated. His body returned to normal. Changshing happily accepted this result. In this way, the damage to the divine soul caused by bestowing divinity is completely resolved by the 9 revolutions mysterious technique. Does this mean that the lack of divinity of the Huaxia gods can almost be compensated? He happily said to the dean, "Please rest assured, my destined god is the creation god Pangu. The damage to the divine soul caused by bestowing divinity can all be resolved by the cultivation technique." Li Xian did not expect such a thing to happen. At this time, Yang Wei, who had just been bestowed with new divinity by Changshing, was very happy. His level as a divine envoy had reached 2S, and his compatibility with the destined god Xiangyu had reached 92%. He bowed and thanked him repeatedly. He told him not to be polite. To this day, I think of Xiangyu, who refused to cross the river to the east. Xiangyu was also a hero who stood tall in the historical civilization of Huaxia. It's just that no one has ever witnessed, experienced, or felt his glory. Perhaps, from today, you will once again be witnessed by the world. A girl came over to greet him and said that he was her idol. Liu Changxing shyly greeted her back. The next god is Neza. As a disciple of true Mantai, strictly speaking, he can be regarded as the great-grandson of grand deity Pangu. Unexpectedly, Neza even bowed down and spoke to him. "I seem to sense the aura of the ancestor on you." Pangu's 1 qi transforms into 3 purities, and true Mantai is the direct descendant of Yuan Shitianzuan, the head of the 3 purities. Ancestor? The true spirits of the 2 gods looked at each other. Neza respectfully bowed to Pangu, facing the ancestor true Mantai, who had taken care of him so attentively. He was so moved. He raised his hand and bestowed more divinity on the girl. In fact, Neza's heart is not bad at all. In essence, he is just a child who lacks his father's love. His stubborn actions are just to attract Li Jing's attention. Liu Changxing recited a few lines of poetry. The world is shocked by his feats in Jingzhou. His spirit to slay dragons in the chaotic sea remains, snatching and kicking. He controls the wind and fire wheels, pointing his fingers to set the 3 souls. Changing bones and returning to his body shows filial piety. Lotus flowers reshape his body to restore his form. He makes a big scene in the heavenly palace. His prestige is displayed. His spirit shines on the investiture of the gods. When Neza opened his eyes, he was surprised to see 2 more fire wheels under his feet, and a long spear in his hand. The girl covered her face in shock. The compatibility between me and Neza has increased from 30% to 80%. At this time, Pangu's true spirit appeared, waving his hand. He caused Neza to grow 2 more heads, becoming a person with 3 heads and 6 arms. Neza knelt down and kowed out to thank the ancestor. Then he turned to bump fists with the girl. This girl's name was Dan Lingson, a S-level divine envoy. Her compatibility with the destined god had reached 86%. She said to Liu Changxing emotionally, "As expected, he is my idol. I never thought Neza had so much potential to be tapped." Liu Rian, who witnessed the whole process, had shining eyes, extremely admiring. He looked at her and thought to himself, "The god of slaughter by Qi has been bestowed with all my divinity. His personal ability may be inferior to Neza and Xiangyu, but what is more terrifying is his strategic vision and commanding ability." Then, Liu Changxing opened the map and said sternly, "Next, we will complete an extremely difficult task together. For Huaxia, recover the 3 lost lands, which are Izhou, Island Port, and Jingyu." He pointed upwards. Currently, all participating countries are closely monitoring the developments of the Battle of the Gods, and the protection of the central capital area has not been relaxed at all. However, the deployment of troops in the colonies will definitely be looser than usual. He turned to Liu Ruping and said, "I need the general to mobilize 30,000 soldiers, divided and deployed by Neza, Xiangyu, and by Qi, and at the same time recover the 3 lost lands." Liu Ruping nodded. "I believe in you." The city lord was quite cautious. Even if the troop strength is thin, the defending forces of the three cities should not be able to be breached with only a few tens of thousands of people. Right? Moreover, even if Changshing knows all the characteristics of the gods. Liu Ruping interrupted him. Okay, Lao Bai, if it weren't for Changshing, I'm afraid the losses caused by this battle of the gods to Huaxia would have been immeasurable. For young people with strength and ideals, we should give them more trust. Not only that, Liu Changshing also made a bolder decision. In addition, I want the mainstream media to broadcast this entire raid, to boost the morale of the entire nation. The Tianshu Academy controls all the mainstream media. This matter is entrusted to Dean Li for handling. Li Xian was a little apprehensive, but if we accidentally fail, I'm afraid Huaxia will become a laughingstock for the world. It will cause an even greater blow to everyone. Liu Changxing confidently said to him, Dean, rest assured, this battle will surely be victorious.